Welcome. Tonight's show asks the question, who's going to win AOY? A lot of fans don't start to think about Angler of the Year until the second half of the season. That's even true for a lot of tournament anglers, but most will tell you that they have two goals for the season: qualifying for the year-end championship, winning AOY. So they really should be thinking about AOY right out of the gate like we're doing tonight for all three leagues. One of the few anglers I know who started thinking about AOY early in the season is Kevin Van Dam, who won 8 such titles, 7 with BASS and 1 with FLW. I can remember talking with him after the first tournament of a Bassmaster Elite Series season where he had a solid finish, not a top 10 or 12, but a solid finish. I congratulated him on a good tournament, and he said, "Yeah, I picked up some AOY points." I thought then, and I think now, that it's very smart for competitors to think that far ahead, 5, 6, 9 events ahead. You need a plan and a roadmap to get where you want to be. The very first AOY in modern bass tournament history was none other than the great Bill Dance. In 1970, he won the BASS Angler of the Year title. Today, they call it the Bassmaster Angler of the Year title. Back then, they didn't have the same point system they use today. In fact, Bill Dance was named Angler of the Year in 1970 because he led all anglers in tournament prize money. He'd win again in 1974 and 1977. By that time, BASS had developed a point system. Through the years, the leagues have used a variety of different systems to calculate AOY and championship qualifiers. In the late 70s, BASS even used a system that was nothing more than total pounds weighed in. Unfortunately, it took them a few years to figure out that wasn't an equitable system. Today, all three leagues, Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour, the National Professional Fishing League, and BASS, have a point system to determine their Angler of the Year. Some leagues seem to change the scoring system annually. What hasn't changed, though, is the fact that the competitors consider AOY to be the most prestigious title they can win, even more than the year-end league championship. What also hasn't changed is that AOY pays far less than the year-end championship, and that it offers less of a spotlight for the AOY and his sponsors. The spotlight part makes sense on some level. AOY stretches across a long season. You can win it without ever winning a regular season event. But winning AOY makes you the best angler over an entire season, whereas winning the championship makes you the best angler over a few days. The disparity in money and publicity seems unfair, out of balance, but it's not likely to change. A dozen anglers have won both the Bassmaster Classic and BASS Angler of the Year. Half that number have accomplished the equivalent on the MLFLW side, and no one's done it yet with NPFL. I've spoken with almost all of those anglers that have won both titles, and nearly every one told me that AOY meant a lot more to them than the championship, that they considered it to be far more prestigious. But they were absolutely unanimous in saying that the championship tournament win did more for their bank account and more for their career. And when I talked to the anglers who have won AOY, but not the year-end championship, pretty much every one of them has told me they'd trade 1, 2, or even more AOY titles for just one championship. The difference in money and spotlight is that significant. Luckily, we don't have to choose. We can follow the AOY race and dig in for the championships when they come around in another month or so. Tonight, though, we are all about Angler of the Year. Welcome to Bass After Dark. For the next 90 minutes, we hope to show you that inch for inch and pound for pound, we are the most illuminating show in bass fishing. And now it's time to bring on my co-host. His life motto is measure twice, cut once. It's Brian the Carpenter.
A drink for that, Ken. Sometimes measure thrice.
Measure thrice is probably a good motto as well.
Yes.
Welcome, man. I've got to kick off the show while you're getting lighting all set up back there. You've got a lot more technical gizmos, and you're looking really red this evening. I like it.
Very red. Yes, we have a lot of red going on. But fantastic monologue, Ken. I know you were sweating it, and we're happy with your performance tonight, or what you had prepared. But I thought it was wonderful.
It kind of came together at the last minute. I don't like doing them that way, but sometimes that's what time allows. But I am excited about tonight's show. and talking about the AOY race that's coming up in all three leagues. AOY is, to me, the biggest title in bass fishing. The championships are fun, and I really pour a lot of attention into them, a lot of study, a lot of analysis. But AOY to me is the greater accomplishment. What about you?
Oh, I've never accomplished it or a championship. So
not at Top Rod,
dude. I finished second in the championship and AOI every stinking year I was there.
Oh.
Usually to Mike, but in the off year that Mike didn't win, I still managed second.
I played in some little tournament leagues where
it was a great time for wah 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 or something, you know.
Or you could have done a Homer Simpson. Oh!
Yes, anything.
Also good sound effect. Except after I'm talking, don't throw it out there. Then that's not the time. Yeah, I've never won AOY on any meaningful circuit. I have won a couple of team tournament championships, but anyway.
I have some friends that voted me a-hole of the year a time or two. So.
Friends like that, yeah, that's good stuff.
Well deserved, well earned. So I'll take it. Win's a win.
There's Nathan.
Yeah.
I like it. No, a-hole of the year. A lot of guys are fighting for that on day one. A lot of guys seem to be.
Yeah, they got nothing, dude.
The aggressiveness on that point starts early. Well, got a good show tonight. Got a cool top 10 that's tied in with our show topic. Tell us about that.
That's right. The top 10 signs you won't win AOI.
I really like that. That one was a fun one to put together. And folks, stick around. We're going to do that toward the end of the show. But I think that might be overall our best top 10 yet.
Yeah, might be.
I think it's just consistently rock solid.
I think we could have had a top 20 out of it.
We were working with more than 50 candidates on that deal. So pretty excited about that. Me, BTC, Nathan, Jacob the intern. It was a good effort.
That's right. I'm ready. You ready?
Let's do it. No,
Let's
man.
All right. First man in. College angler from 2013 to 15. He started working for BASS in 2014, operating Bass Track Live, joined Bassmaster Live in 2017, and is entering his 11th season. He is Ronnie Moore.
What's going on, everybody?
Welcome, Ronnie. Thanks for joining us tonight.
I appreciate it. When I got the message, I was like, no way, this is what BTC's messaging me about. This is prestigious.
Well, you're not coming. You didn't bring your A game because I don't see you in a smoking jacket, but we certainly appreciate your presence and expertise. We know we're going to benefit from that. And also appreciate your coming with your A game tonight, because one of the tough things we had for this show, as those of us in the show know, is we're expecting everybody just to talk about maybe the league they're most closely associated with, but the other leagues as well, because I think there's a cool bunch of races, a cool schedule ahead for all of them. So thanks for that, Ronnie. BTC, who's up next?
Another college angler.
No way.
Tech. No way.
Surely that's all of them. There can't be more than
According to his
two.
bio, I believe he invented bass fishing podcasts way back when. 4 ABA, which we'll have to ask him about. 4 ABA wins, a 2023 Bassmaster Open win on the St. Lawrence, 10 plus years at FLW MLF, and currently the senior editor of their website, Senor Blanco, Mr. Jody White.
Jody Blanco.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I am thrilled to be on, and really glad that so far it's not like Hank Parker or Kevin Van Dam or someone just totally out of my league on the show with me. So,
well, now I played a joke on.
I'm not saying your
Ronnie's
next guest won't be that, but
I played a joke on for the folks watching, listening. Our guests are, we call it backstage before we bring them on, introduce them, and so forth. And they don't know who the other guests are, so I'll usually pop on and say, "Well, hey, are Bill Dance and Johnny Morris waiting yet?" And just to create terror in the green room.
Yes.
And of course, sometimes we do roll out a Hank Parker or somebody who's got some real gravitas. But you guys have gravitas. If you guys weren't the best in the business, you would not be invited to join us on Bass After Dark.
I don't think we've got much on last week's show.
I beg to differ. BTC, we got one more guest, fabulous guest coming here.
I will say, to follow up on that, I'm a lot more comfortable tonight than I was last week. My God. And yes, this next fella is quite the hustler, winningest kayak angler in his family. Works for Gunpowder.
Gunpowder PR, great PR firm, handles
Yes.
some massive clients like Pure Fishing, Johnson Outdoors. They are the big player in the world.
Yep. Host of the Serious Angler podcast, shot blocking, crease clearing defenseman, Bailey Eigbrett.
Bailey Eigbrett, welcome.
Eigbrett.
Well,
Bailey, thanks so much for being here. Now, Bailey is also the president of the I Hate Ken Duke Club.
Whoa, man! I didn't know that was
correct.
a club.
Well, if you're looking for membership, it's probably easy to get. Probably inexpensive, but we'll show later. We'll tell that story later. But I'm worried right now. Bailey, thanks so much for joining us. You're a very experienced podcaster, very experienced media guy, as are Ronnie and Jody. But thanks for being here.
yeah, no, I appreciate the invite. I feel a little outgunned against these two here, but I appreciate to be amongst the crew.
No, this is absolutely a fair fight. Absolutely a fair fight, and not that it's going to be a fight. You know, we're here to get together collegially and talk about the AOI race. And first of all, I feel bad for Ronnie because I believe he is out mustached on the panel so far.
Hey, my father has the mustache in the family, and he would put us all to shame. So when I saw that coming out of the womb, I said, I'm not even going to try ever in my life. So I actually shaved for this, so I would look even more mustacheless.
I shave too, but I shave up here. It's kind of sad what's happened to me at this age. But all right, guys, BTC and I were talking about which league we would start with first, and what we're going to do is I'm going to ask a trivia question and see who gets it, and whoever gets it gets to choose which league we start with. Okay, how about that? It's not an easy one. It's not an easy one, but I'm going to start with this. Who won the very first FLW Angler of the Year title?
I don't really know.
I do not know either. But I'll just throw out a guess. I don't know. I'll just throw out because you can't be right if you don't guess. So I'll just throw out somebody who was like a long time ago, but he might not have been that long ago. Dan Moorhead, maybe.
Dan Moorhead is not a bad guess at all. This has been 1996. The actual answer is Peter Flaveros, Peter T. All right, second trivia question, BTC.
You didn't give Bailey a chance to guess something wrong.
Well,
I didn't have anything, so it's all good.
I mean, that
I
was like
would've made him
before
say
Bailey
something.
was born. Probably.
Yeah.
It was before Bailey was born. But okay, second one. I think pretty easy. In the monologue, I gave away who won the first BASS Angler of the Year award. It was Bill Dance. Who won the second BASS AOI title?
I think it was Roland.
Okay, come on. It was Roland. Who guessed that? Who guessed Roland? Ronnie. Okay, Ronnie pick the league we're going to start with. We're going to start with BASS.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's start with BASS.
Yeah, I can fade as the show goes on, but I want to start strong at least.
There you go.
That won't be a problem. You guys will all be strong through the show. Not to worry about that. And Roland was the second AOI, also the third AOI, also the fourth AOI. In looking at the schedule, and Bailey and Jody, hang in there because we're going to get to you guys even talking about the BASS stuff. In looking at the schedule, Ronnie, I'm seeing a lot of old favorites. I'm seeing a lot of places Bass has been before. I'm not seeing a lot of sight fishing tournaments. I'm not seeing a lot of tournaments that I think are going to be won on the bank. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I'd say that our schedule, even though there are a lot of familiar lakes on there and places we've been for, like, that are legendary in Bass history with 15, 20 visits, things like that, we're going to a lot of them in different times. So Toledo and Fork,
yes.
I kind of get to group them 2 by 2. Toledo and Fork are our pre-spawn tournaments, standing timber, that type of deal. And then We have the Classic, and then we have 2 in Florida in April. We haven't been into Florida in April, probably since
in forever.
Yeah, and so then we've got also 2 blueback herring lakes. We've got one that's all largemouth at Lake Murray, and we've got one that's Smith Lake, and those are Murray's a little later than it was last year. Smith right there before the 4th of July. We've got 2 smallmouth events up north in Champlain and St. Lawrence, and then we've got the lone Tennessee River in the middle of June. So I like it because we kind of get, if you see something that happens, we're probably going to get to see it again to a certain extent at another venue. So if you really like learning about blueback herring, you'll get to see it twice. If you want that good old-fashioned Tennessee River, but with a different flair, you'll get Wheeler once. And then Florida in April, I'm really excited about. I think that those will – I think offshore fishing has changed the game, and we're going to see a lot of people doing that no matter what. But I think that there will – I think at Wheeler, you'll be able to see people at least shallow. They might be off the bank, but shallow. You've got Florida shallow. If that water level at Toledo and Fork continues to rise with all this rain we've had in this area, we could see a lot more shallow fish than we might have predicted for the late winter, early pre-spawn. So I like it. The only thing I'm bummed about is Champlain. Jody would know best. I don't think we're ever going to see a green one caught in the top 10 ever again, and that's a bummer because last year would have been the year to do it with the high water. So that's the only thing that doesn't excite me about the Northern Swing. It's probably not going to see a green one at all.
A lot of great observations
Brian LaBelle
about
in that
schedule.
tournament. You'll see some.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the smallmouth derbies have certainly gone weird ways through the years. Remember Brower doing really well on a frog and stuff like that. But yeah, Florida in April, post-spawn tournament, at least 98% post-spawn anyway. That's going to be interesting. What kind of angler benefits from that schedule? Give me an angler style. Is it going to just another massive forward-facing year?
I think we will see forward-facing sonar. I wouldn't say necessarily dominate. We'll see a lot of people doing it, but I think it'll be like we saw this year. Yes, we saw a lot of winners come from forward-facing sonar, but we saw a lot of top 10 people early in the year not with it. Rivette may have won at Okeechobee, but he was the only one in the top 10 forward-facing sonar. Joey, there was only like 2 or 3 of them doing it at Seminole. You got Palmer at Santee. There was only just a handful. So I think there's still a lot of shallow fishing that was successful. But to beat that out, it's going to be hard because beating on these fish for 3 days of practice and 4 days of a tournament shallow, that's a little bit more difficult these days with how good these guys are. And also we basically get a preview of the event with how the PPT schedule is always right before. So these guys are already locked in before they get there, and then they get to beat on them some more. So that'll be the only thing that's difficult is to outlast them. Is you have to manage it well in practice if you hope it's going to last for 4 days in a tournament. But I'd say those movers and shakers, the ones that aren't afraid, I think this is one of the most diverse skill set schedules we've gotten, because you got to know blueback herring and spotted bass probably, because you don't want that late in the year to be your stumble with 2 events after Smith Lake. You don't want to stumble there. You still have to know smallmouth fishing so you don't stumble late, and you want to get off to a good start when it could be frigid temps. And then also Florida, no matter if it's April or not. I think April's a lot more steady than other times of the year, but anytime there's fish on the bed and weather can affect it, Florida can throw a wrench into some of these people's plans. But I think you're going to just see some of the most diverse anglers. You're going to see guys with a bunch of different baits on their rod, on their front deck at most events, honestly.
BTC, you had something.
Yeah, this is for Ronnie and probably Jody as well. Maybe you as well, Bailey. You had made the comment about smallmouth are going to dominate Champlain. Can you just clarify what exactly you mean by that?
Well, Jody can speak to it more. I just can tell you I've never made a cast at Champlain, but I've covered tournaments on the water there. I kind of know where it goes down. And then watching it on Bass Live this past year, seeing how big the smallmouth are, it used to be like we'd ask the question, could you win on all largemouth because it's been done before? Could you win on all all smallmouth because it's been won before? Or do you need mixed bags to win? And I always keep track of how many, the fish that are weighed in by the top 10. Out of the 15 that you've weighed, how many are smallmouth, how many are largemouth? And there was 0 largemouth weighed for the first time ever in an elite event at Champlain. And with the eye-opening forward-facing sonar experience in the inland sea in different regions of it, and then one angler making the top 10 on the New York side, I just think that if you don't spend 3 days of practice there, doing smallmouth, then you're going to be behind, because honestly, 4-pounders mean less at Champlain than most places, because it seems like 4-pounders are everywhere, whether they're green or brown. So I think you got to invest your time on smallmouth, because that's going to be more plentiful day to day and weather dependent too. It seems long lasting.
Yeah, Jody, is that purely a forward facing caused by forward facing, or something else going on at Champlain?
I think it's maybe a little bit of a couple of things. I think the forward-facing deal is, it is real important, because we're better at catching smallmouth probably than we've ever been. Whereas I don't think the, locals, national anglers, I don't think the ability to catch largemouth has necessarily gone up at the same speed as the smallmouth skills have. And then it does seem like the largemouth population just isn't like quite what it should be or what it was. Brian LaBelle catches a lot of big largemouth. We saw some tournaments in the fall where like largemouth were actually really important for guys, but like day in, day out, like the top 10 is majority smallmouth now, more than it, I would say, ever used to be. And it's very rare that, the southern end of the lake plays anymore. Thai is apparently not what it used to be. I fished an ABA there in the fall, and I think like pretty much every check went to guys who ran north and left Thai, which, in years past, that it's not like that's uncommon, but years past, that's a thing you do during the smallmouth spawn, and that's probably it. Otherwise you stay around Thai, and now, you get out and chase brownfish a lot of the time.
Yeah, a lot of guys were running from up north to Thai.
Yeah, I mean, the lake is flipped to a degree. It's interesting, and I don't really buy that the largemouth entirely aren't there, because Brian LaBelle does some really impressive things, but I think it's the kind of thing that probably takes a lot of commitment to figure out, whereas the smallmouth are frankly probably a little bit easier to get up to speed faster on, at the caliber that you need to be at. And if you're a guy from out of town and you've got 3 days to practice and the lake's 100 miles long, you're going to play the odds, like Ronnie said.
Bailey, you and Jody are going to hate me for this statement, but I hate seasons that end on smallmouth waters, because everybody catches 5. The winner is averaging 3 3/4 pounds. 50th place averages 4 ounces less, and it's just a mind-numbing coin flip of a derby. Taking a look at that BASS schedule, who do you like? Throw a couple of names at me that you think are going to be in the hunt for AOY this year.
And Bailey, have you ever made the run from Plattsburgh to Thai in your kayak?
It takes a couple weeks, but you'll get there.
Okay.
Have you seen his arms and shoulders, BTC? Yes, he's made that run.
I have. His calves are like the size of my head. Probably bigger.
Tell it if you're ready to make a pick, Bailey. If you're ready to throw a couple of names at us for guys you think are going to make a run at Bassmaster AOI this year. Who you got?
Are we going with our breadwinner here? Or are you just throwing out like a top 3?
Give me your number 2 and number 3, and then let's close it out for your picks there. Actually, what I'd love from you
I can
is
see that Jody only picked 1 because his eyes just got real big when you said 2 and 3.
That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. Honestly, what I'd love to get from both of you on each league is give me your AOI, your real main choice if you had to go and put money on it, and give me a dark horse. Maybe somebody who would not ordinarily be in anybody's top 10 picks, but just a guy who you think if things line up right, he's got a real chance. Bailey, who you got?
Okay. My AOI pick, I think I'm going to rock with Takumi Ito.
Whoa. You think it's a finesse season?
I think it is. I mean, he's just proven that he can catch them the way he wants to catch them everywhere they go. I mean, he even proved that at the Sabine with Ronnie, correct me here if I'm wrong, but I think it was throwing like 5-pound test at Sabine 2 or 3 years ago or something like that.
Yeah,
but like, I mean, he does what he wants to do wherever they go, and he does it well. I mean, he was swimming a wacky rig at Fork a couple years back and putting up a big bag. So I think I just got a lot of confidence in him. I think him watching Koya be so successful last year might light a fire in him too, which could be cool to see that little rivalry within the rivalry of Bass next year. I don't know. I just got a feeling about Taku, man. The guy just has fun, fishes the way he wants to.
It's Taku time.
Taku time. I like it. That surprises me a little bit that you would go Ito. But you defend it well. You make a lot of sense with it. I'm going to come back to you for a dark horse in a minute, Bailey.
Okay.
All right, Jody. Bassmaster Angler of the Year. Who you like?
I'm all in on Fujita. I am fascinated by this guy. He is probably my favorite fisherman to watch fish right now. I love every minute of it. And he's like a premier scoper. I think the schedule sets up really well for a guy that can scope. I think he can do it, man. I think if you figure that every year of him fishing in the U.S., at least to a point, he'll get a little bit better at fishing in the U.S., I think we could see him be even better this year.
Again, some fine points. Jody, I thought you and I would be simpatico on this pick for sure. I thought you and I would be on the same page, man. Same page.
Who are you going to take?
I'm holding that. That's none of your business. You're a guest.
I want to know.
I asked the questions here. No, I'm kidding. Actually, that's one of the things I'm excited about you guys as a group is I want you guys to interact and ask questions. You know, BTC last week we probably had an average age of like 68 among our guests, and I was feeling a little bit young, but in this panel I'm pretty much twice as old as everybody here.
Can I guess Ken's pick?
No, not yet. Not yet. Well, yeah, that's too easy.
Okay, because I think I figured it out.
Yeah, of course you figured it out. You know exactly who it is.
So Ronnie, who's your Japanese AOI?
Well, I was going to say this. I'm going to keep it in the States, but I will say just for everyone for 2024, I have talked to Sego before last year. I said it correctly all year. No one else in the world has said it correctly. It is Kiyoya Fujita. It's not Koya. It's not Koya. It's Kiyoya. And I had to ask him for 10 minutes straight. We repeated it back and forth until I just hung up on him. But I made sure it's Kiyoya Fujita. And one thing I think is interesting about Jody's pick is because he's fishing all 9 opens as well. He's doing the Kenta Kimura Gauntlet. He's doing 18 BASS events plus and the 19 kind of in the Classic. So Kiyoya is going to fast track at Okeechobee again, Santee for the Open, stuff like that. So he's going to get quicker, but that is a lot of fishing as well. My pick for AOI is somebody I've picked. You'll see it on the Bassmaster TV shows for the Elite Preview that are on FS1 in a few weeks. I'm not going to vary from it here. Patrick Walters, it's got to be his time. I mean, 5 years on the Elite Series, got 16th his rookie year, and he actually led AOI for multiple weeks of the season when he got 16th.
Top
and then
5 every year since.
And then he's gotten 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 3rd. And so I just think that he's taken his biggest weakness, smallmouth fishing, and made it one of his greatest strengths. Forward-facing sonar has helped in that. And I know that we're picking forward-facing sonar guys, but Ken, I think you'll be encouraged that it's not like I'm not thinking forward-facing sonar for the season because of, jig heads and minnows. I'm thinking it because of bigger baits. When you're going to Toledo, Fork, Murray, and Wheeler and Smith, even depending on if you're going for, what size spotted bass you're catching, I think we're going to see a little bit more power fishing, bigger baits on forward-facing, not just rinky-dink 6-pound line, drop it and wait for them. I think that we're literally going to see a bigger bait transition here as fish do get accustomed to little baits. But Patrick Walters, 5 fantastic years. He is fishing the NPFL as well, but that hasn't seemed to hold him up. And to think that last year he should have won AOI, but his worst finish was his home lake. I'm glad he's not going to Santee for the Elite schedule. So,
yeah,
doesn't he have the baby luck going for him too?
Patrick doesn't need luck. I said to Mark Zone, I fished against him. Jody fished against him most likely. And I said to Mark Zona when we had the split in 2018 at the end and we had new people coming in 2019, a large group of rookies, he said, name me 3 guys. And I didn't stutter. And I put Patrick Walters, Drew Cook, and I said Derek Hudnall. And if Hudnall makes it back to the launch at the end of the season once or twice, and he doesn't accidentally fish at Hartwell one day into the off limits, he makes 2 or 3 extra classics than what he's got on his resume. So I felt confident about Patrick Walters since the day I laid eyes on his short shorts in college. So he is one of the best of all time and will be, no doubt, whether there was electronics or not.
Note to our engineer, Nathan. Nathan, you got to isolate Ronnie's quote there about seeing his short shorts, and we're going to have to use that as a clip somewhere.
Oh, my gosh. I love it.
BTC, BTC, I think there's no question but that Patrick Walters is the best angler in the Elite Series. I think it's not close. I think he's
really
way ahead. Yeah, and I'm picking him to win AOY.
Whoa. Way ahead of Jordan Lee?
You know,
we don't know Jordan on the Elites. Jordan's fished more time on the BPT than he has the Elites. I don't know what Jordan's going to bring this year. Everybody keeps asking.
Yeah.
That's my
Jordan's got,
thinks Jordan's going to be bad. I'm going to write
Jordan's
that
got Jordan's got 3 top 10 finishes in AOY in his elite career.
Yep,
very strong, and of course he's got 2 classic wins. So maybe it's not fair to say that Walters is head and shoulders above everybody in the elites, but I do think that Patrick Walters is the best angler in the Elite Series. I think maybe Jordan Lee is the best big game angler who's going to be launching out there, but because I think Jordan finds an extra gear when it matters most. But I got to go with Patrick Walters. BTC, you want to make a pick here? You saved him to the end.
I mean, that's who I have had. Walters,
now you look like you're just copying. Now you look like you're just copying me and Ronnie.
I know. Yeah.
I was really worried that going third, I was going to copy someone. So I'm glad I got to start that.
Apparently, Bailey and Jody don't know that Americans are in the elites this year. They've completely ignored the entire North American contingent. That was embarrassing on some level, guys. Domestic.
And Jody, I'll say to you about the Jordan Lee, I don't think he's bad. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of him. And I'll say Jordan Lee in the elites 2015, 16, 17, 18, the world has changed. And I know he's still a part of the world over there, even though it is kind of a different world at the BPT. I will say that it's not going away from his game because he's one of the best anglers out there, but he's more suited if you did shut off the graphs and fish blindfolded. Patrick could do the same thing, but I think Jordan
he's old.
It's not that he can't do it. I think he desires not to do it. I think he desires not to do it. And Jordan's allowed to be stubborn and not do forward facing sonar, even if it's doing well. Like, I just feel like Jordan's wired that way. And so there'll be tournaments where maybe he's just doing his thing. But I have Jordan
down.
I think I put Jordan as 13th in AOI. I think I did like some random anglers, some guys who've been here that struggled last year, some rookies. I just picked them just to see where I get. But I think I put Jordan at 13th.
So Ronnie Moore says the game has passed him by.
Yeah. What is Jordan? He's going to be 32 or so this year, something like that. All right, Bailey.
Very old.
Who's your? I hate the idea that somebody basically half my age is old. So I'm going to move on. Bailey, I told you I was going to come back to you for a dark horse. Who you got as a dark horse to win AOI on the Elite Series?
My dark horse, I'm bringing it back to the States.
Thank God.
Pleasure, Ken. I'm going with Luke Palmer.
There you go.
I'm going Luke Palmer because I think he's a perfect example of a hybrid, a guy that's getting better at the technology. And I think he showed that towards the last half of the season last year, doing well at like St. Clair. And I think a guy like that can mix in the shallow stuff, the power fishing, and be a hybrid of both. I think he has a shot. He finally got the W last year, and I think that might be an extra mental edge going into this year. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was in the hunt this year. But also just a big fan of the guy.
I like it. That's a strong dark horse pick. Jody White, Bass dark horse.
Well, so I was thinking about picking Luke Palmer as my dark horse, but I feel like if
you can pick an angler from Oklahoma,
dark horse, then he can't be a dark horse, right?
No, you can supplement what Bailey had to say, but you go whatever direction you want to go.
Why don't I do this? And I don't really know that this guy's a dark horse, to be honest. But I'm all in on scope, and there's not too many guys better at it than Cody Huff. So I'll take Cody Huff. I love that guy. He's a killer fisherman.
Okay, Cody Huff, one of the youngest anglers out there, certainly. A guy that has a ton of expectations surrounding him. I think he's an interesting pick. All right, Ronnie, your dark horse, somebody that we wouldn't. see on the radar.
And Cody's won like 400 Toledo Bend tournaments that he's fished in a row, but that'll see how he starts. I'm going Lee Livesey. I think the season starts strong with him going on that big fish or the big bait vibe, even if it's forward facing, even if he doesn't like it. He's one of the guys who doesn't like it. I think that the big baits, he fished well at Murray as well. I don't think that like Smith is going to be out of his realm. He could go in the back of a creek, catch some largemouth, could fish off a point, top water for spotted bass. I like the first two. He's done well in Florida as well. And then up north, he can carry his own. He's in a new rig this year. He's going to run an express, so we'll see how that handles some of the weather we may have. I don't have any fears of that. That's why I think he's one of my dark horses as well. And I really just I'll even say that even though we're talking about AOY, I think his success will extend into the Classic. I think he's got 3 Classics and he's never finished outside the top 15. I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at other people in Oklahoma at Grand and Lee's in there on the final day slinging a big bait and has a chance to win the Classic as well. I think he's going to have a fantastic season overall.
BTC, I know if there are bonus points for musical taste, that Lee Livesey is going to start the season with a massive lead in AOY points. And I know Lee's a buddy of yours. I think very highly of Lee Livesey. You think he's got a shot? You think he's a good dark horse pick?
I do. I'd love to see it, and then maybe he'd get a Bassmaster cover if he got AOI.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, there's some other factors in there on that, and
There's a few. James Hall is going to work that out. Now, I will say this about Livesey: if Livesey is not leading AOY or in the top 2 or 3 after Toledo Bend and Fork, then he has no shot. He's not going to make up the ground unless he is right at the top after the first 2. So I just don't see him.
Patrick
closing the gap
on his home one. I don't know.
There's a difference, though. There's a difference, and I'm not taking a shot at Lee, but I think Patrick has been more consistently excellent.
For sure.
Everybody talks about the year that in 2013, I think it was, when Aaron Martin started the season in 85th place in AOY after a couple of events, and he came back and won AOY, and they acted like, wow, what an amazing thing that this guy came from 85th. No, the amazing thing was that Aaron Martins was ever in 85th place. That to me is the difference. I would be shocked if Patrick Walters is in 85th place after 3 tournaments. I wouldn't be shocked if he closes and gets in the top 10. I just think it's a different way of looking at it. But all right, it's time for a new league. Who wants to go next? Wait a minute. Who's your dark horse?
What about
and you and your picks?
I'm gonna go off. You want mine or BTC? Why don't you go next? We may have the same pick.
We're talking dark horse, right?
Yeah.
Jacob Fouts. I mean, if he
Okay.
Oh, I'd say, why not? We said dark horse, right? Anybody can pick.
That is a dark horse.
Runner. Yeah.
That is a dark.
It could happen.
Dark horse. It could happen.
Laser focus.
There are no rules against that.
Then
my dark horse.
He wouldn't need any sponsors if he did so well to win it. He wouldn't need any sponsors, so then he wouldn't have any YouTube videos to worry about. So I hope Jacob does.
There you go. I'm worried that his busy YouTube calendar is going to keep him from.
That's another aspect for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to go BTC. You may be shocked at this one. Yeah, everybody may be shocked at this one. I'm going Mike Iaconelli. I think Mike Iaconelli has potentially another AOY in him. I think he's mad at him right now. I think he realizes he's got some ground to make up on some of the technology. And he had a terrific first 3 quarters of the year in 23. And then it didn't go so well. But I think Mike Iaconelli is my dark horse. I would not be shocked to see Mike make a run at it.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Good for the sport.
Yeah.
Mike Iaconelli is good for the game.
He was the name. Tom Abraham on the Bassmaster radio. Everybody was saying, 3 events left. Ike's in 9th or 10th in points, and no one else above him is better at smallmouth, and he is the first smallmouth guy on the list. Like, watch out. And I don't know what happened, but yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and nobody cares more, Nobody's out there putting more pressure on himself to do well than Mike Iaconelli.
I just don't
That's
want
a
Ike
fact.
to win the Classic or AOI because I feel like he'll just quit right then, and we always need a little bit more Ike. So if like we can just prolong it another couple years, then he can do it at the end. I don't need him to do it in 2024 and just be see you later. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. Mike's proven that he had a great first act to his career when he was the bad boy and such a polarizing figure. Now he's kind of that elder statesman, and he's showing he can do that as a second act. And I think Mike's got an amazing third act ahead of him. I'm very curious as to what it might be.
What do you think
All right.
it is?
I hope it's an AOI and a
Change
classic,
of pronouns?
classic win. That's we'll
Better not be.
Yeah.
we had
Very wise, Ken.
yeah, I'm not gonna go there. I'm wearing a
Onward.
smoking jacket for God's sake. I'm not taking myself too seriously, but I will take myself that seriously. All right, Jody, let's have you tell us a little bit about that BPT schedule. It's a really interesting, to me, it's the most interesting schedule of the three leagues.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it is like it's a weird schedule. It's got a lot of cool lakes in it. It's got a pretty cool river in it, and it's got some stuff at interesting times too. You know, Dale Hollow in April, I think, could go a lot of ways. I believe it's
Dale Hollow at all. My God, you're talking about the most
you know,
legendary smallmouth fishery in the world, and it's got
Dale
a slot
Hollow
limit.
Yeah, Dale Hollow, where you can just weigh them and drop them back in. Like,
yes. Oh,
we've had Toyota Series events there where guys have just like straight up said they threw back 20 pounds of smallmouth twice because they couldn't weigh it in. And I don't know if it'll be that level of good in April, but they could also be like literally on bed in April, and that could be really good. So I think it's a really cool schedule. There's probably going to be some tournaments where you don't realize they are every fish counts, like Santee in February. I mean, man, if you had cold weather, I think that could be a probably pretty tough event. Eufaula, which is the Oklahoma one, like it doesn't seem like a lake that's necessarily slap loaded with fish. So I think it's going to have a lot for everyone. And, you know, probably the highlight on it is that river, the Showan River, which like is
what is that place?
really good from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know of any major circuit that's been there. Maybe they've been to another tributary where you can get there, but I'm just not familiar with that place at all. But Dale Hollow fascinates me. I used to go to Dale Hollow every year to wintertime smallmouth fish, and that place is amazing. You catch the world of 16 to 21 inch fish that you can't take to the scales in a tournament. So every fish counts. Is what a great opportunity. Kudos to MLF for seizing that and doing it.
Yeah, hopefully there's no. Are there any smallmouth spawning derbs on the schedule? Jody,
It might be Dale Hollow.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think the BPT, the smaller field, the way that they don't fish a whole ton of people at any given time, like it does let you go to some weird places. And of course the throwing them back, right? And so I do think that this year, like they really did take advantage of that pretty well. So
I
it
like
should be
that.
fun
I
to
like
watch.
something new on the schedule. I didn't care for the smallmouth spawning derbs, but
no,
I don't even particularly care for a smallmouth spawning tournament when it's 5 fish. Like I'd rather they just stay on the bed personally. Like I like to do it once a year, maybe twice, have a good time, and then go do other stuff mostly.
I guess at Dale Hollow, there's a chance that some guys might try to go up the river and catch big largemouth. I mean, there are 7, 8, 9 pound largemouth up the river that guys catch at that time of year on buzzbaits. But I don't think you can catch the numbers that you're going to need to stay in the hunt with every fish counts. Anyway,
yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, and you guys only end with one smallmouth derby. So again, kudos to MLF and keeping the season-ending smallmouth derbies to a minimum because I hate them with a red hot passion.
I kind of am. Yeah.
All right. I'm coming back to you, Jody, for your pick. I'm going to go to Bailey Eigbrett now. Bailey, you've seen the schedule. You're familiar with those waters in concept, if not in person, and you know that BPT crowd. Who are you liking for AOY on the BPT side?
On this one, and he's been very close in recent years. I don't know why it hit me as soon as I looked at the schedule. But on this one, I'm going to rock with Ott Defoe.
Ott.
Yeah.
Love Ott Defoe.
Yeah.
I think going back to the numbers and the way these lakes, rivers set up here, I just think it's in his wheelhouse.
It looks like some places to throw a crankbait. And he'll be somewhat familiar, I hope, with Dale Hollow because it's going to be less than probably an hour and a half from his home. Something like that. Gotta like that. The Otter. That'll be his first major AOY title. And he's certainly one of the more accomplished guys out there who's never won AOY. So I'm rooting for Ott.
Yeah.
He's not my pick.
Always rooting for Ott.
Yeah, but I'm rooting for Ott. All right, Ronnie, who do you like? BPT, AOY, seen the schedule.
I think Alton Jr. gets it done. And he's been so close the last couple years. He's got 4 straight finishes in the top 16. Granted, when you look at the schedule, I see a lot of shallower tournaments at times, a lot of river system tournaments as well. And people might say, well, he's a good scoper. Alton Jr. is good at basically anything you could have him do. I think he's really came into his own. My biggest fear, other than I hated that he left the Elite Series during the split, was that he would be over there in his dad's shadow, just like I'll say it, just like Matt Lee and Jordan's shadow. I thought he could have a chance to stay at the Elites to really make his own brand, but he has not only gone, he has excelled and made his own brand at the BPT very well. And his rod has done all the talking. And I do believe BTC, he did it the right way at those smallmouth events and did not do anything to the sketchy side. Alton's a great man of integrity, and I'm excited. I really do think that Junior gets it done. And if he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the top 5 or 6 because that's just what he's on that momentum. Even if the schedule doesn't line up to a T to maybe his skill sets at times, I think the momentum factor, he's making all the right decisions no matter where he's fishing or what he's doing. So I like Alton Jr.
Junior isn't just a scoper too. Like you're dead right, because like heavy hitters this last year, he blasted them on a spinnerbait, like torched everyone. And that's not, I don't even think he wasn't in his boat, and I bet he didn't even have the forward facing turned on for that tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that he's one of those guys that might be young enough to embrace forward facing sonar and know how to use it well, but he knows when he doesn't have to use it. And like, it's time to put my brain in gear and, and shut off the graph or not look at it. And I think he reads water really well. And I think one thing that they've done is every time, if you want rain to come to your community or bad weather, just sign up an Elite or a BPT because bad weather's coming. And so I think that even on those day off and you're not fishing or whatever the case may be, like, he adjusts very well. I think the adjustments are big. And his success with 5 fish last year, 4th in AOI, and then he's got 16th, 7th, and 13th the prior years of all you can catch. I think that Alton Jr., he's moldable at this point in his career. He's not young. He's not little Alton anymore. 15 years old at the events. He's a grown man, and he's showing it too.
BTC, did you say that Alton Jr. was your pick for BPT AOI?
Indeed.
We line up on 2 out of 2 right now, BTC.
How about it?
You guys have got to stop working together before the show. That's inappropriate.
I know, right? No, it's for all the things that Ronnie said. Just copy and paste. Well said, Ron. That's what I was thinking.
All right, Jody White, you're on the spot.
I'm also gonna go
what?
with Ott.
Okay, Ott. Okay.
Oh. I like that I'm different than both of those for different reasons. I love it.
I feel like dude, I feel like Ott is, I won't say he's been snake bit, but he has been really, really close a lot of times. And I think the schedule could fit him really well. If you look at the fisheries, you look at the places they're going, it's not a schedule where I think you're going to need to rely on forward-facing sonar. The guy has, admitted that he uses it more as like target fishing than I would say sort of like really high-level modern scoping. And he's also like stayed competitive with, he stayed competitive without it, right? Or without relying on it. And he's a guy who actually like really does relish the catch everything you can format. And obviously like Jacob Wheeler has been incredible at it. And, if you had to go like bet money somewhere as opposed to pick on a podcast, right? Like he'd probably be a pretty smart bet, right? But I think that this could be the year Ott gets it done. And I think it would be really cool to see him get it done.
I'm very surprised that nobody has picked Wheeler.
Well, Ken, go for it.
Well, all right, my pick is Edwin Evers, but it's for a very specific reason, and that's I was talking to Edwin earlier today, and he said he plans on winning AOI, and that's good enough for me.
There you go.
That works.
No, I mean, Edwin's obviously won it before. Edwin's a super talented angler. I think Edwin still has a ton of gas in the tank, and he's a dangerous man, whether you're talking 5 or every fish counts. But I think Wheeler, Evers, I'll take those two guys in this shootout. Bailey Eigbrett, coming to you for a dark horse.
Dark horse, something that's diverse like this schedule, and I think he's shown that coming from Cali. Moving over, I'm going Justin Lucas for my dark horse.
Wow, can we really call Justin a dark horse? I mean, he's
come on.
Well, you didn't put the parameters on it. You didn't put parameters on it.
That's true. What I probably should have said was nobody who was top 25 in AOY the previous year. But Justin Lucas, fantastic angler, super talent. He's won a Bassmaster Angler of the Year title. Just one of the most professional guys out there too. Just a great talent, a great ambassador for the game. I would root for Justin Lucas. Bailey, but but interesting.
I mean, if you want me to go look below 25th.
No. Justin Lucas works. Justin, you're a dark horse according to Bailey Eigbrett.
I have my top 3 here. I just went second down from what I had from first.
Who you got third?
I like it because honestly, I bet nobody else on our group here was going to pick Justin. So I like the pick. Who's the next guy on your list though? While we're talking about that,
I have Sheffield.
Spencer Sheffield. Okay. Or are you picking Ron? Are you truly going off the board and taking Ron Sheffield?
Yeah.
You man.
Yeah. No reverse.
Not. Yeah. Probably not. All right, Ronnie, have you got a dark horse for us on the BPT?
I do, and I actually really like this dark horse for being sneaky. I'll put a precursor out there. Jody White has repeatedly beat the dead horse on calling this guy the GOAT, and I don't think he's anywhere near GOAT status, but I think he's very good career. But you got to win more if you're going to be the GOAT, and I think this is the year that he shows that he can win AOY again at this format and possibly win an event, and that's Andy Morgan. I think Andy Morgan, you got James River, you got Chowan River, you got some of these other places. I think that Andy's actually done better 3 out of the 5 years on the BPT. He's done better 3 times than what he did last year on the 5-fish format. And so I think he's okay with playing the numbers game, even though I wouldn't have categorized him that coming in when he made the swap over from the good old FLW Tour to the BPT. So I'll say Andy Morgan because I like the diversity of the different rivers. And some of them, like Jody said, might be grinders where you wouldn't know that they're catching all that they can catch. So I like it.
What does Andy throw? Like 4 or 5 baits? Thank you for bringing up the GOAT point. And I don't blame Jody Blanco for this. I
this
blame
is
Cody
actually
Meyer.
Bassmaster Opens Pro Cody Meyer's fault.
Yes, thank you. It's Cody's fault, and I love Cody Meyer, but Cody started calling Morgan the GOAT. It's absolutely ridiculous. David Dudley is the GOAT of FLW, and it's not close. David Dudley's got 4 AOIs. David Dudley's won a Forest Wood Cup. David Dudley's won more of it. There's nothing David Dudley hasn't done better in his FLW career than Andy Morgan. Fair statement? What do you think, Jody? Fair statement?
I mean, I don't think it's unfair.
I'd say that Andy does have David beat in one category, is that Andy is a normal human being. I will say David is out there.
And
He's out
Andy's
there.
probably a better deer and probably maybe a better deer and turkey hunter. I'm not sure, but anyway, Dudley's got the
David's more entertaining.
And I only say that, so I had to say that negative about the goat thing with Andy. If he cares, or he seems like a guy that wouldn't care. I only say that because I remember all of the, back in my college days, they did the home office tour or the man cave tour, and it's all those trophies on the thing, and only one of those was a win. And I look at KVD's man cave, and there's 26 trophies, and they're only wins. And I'm like, you can't, like, I get trophies are big, but like FLW was handing them out if you got like 27th out of like 36. You know, like that's a lot of trophies. I know his were top 10s, but I love you, Andy. So.
Bass had those days. Bass had those days.
We did, but they're like plaques on the wall, you know. That's the only thing
Bass,
I say.
Bass does not need to be throwing any rocks inside their glass house.
Hey, I was not even born when they did those, so.
No, Bass has. No, anyway, all right.
Where's Thrift stack up against with Dudley as far as career?
If you're talking goats on the FLW side, for my money, Dudley's number one, and then you've got a trio of guys who are next tier, and it's Morgan, it's Thrift, and believe it or not, it's Scott Martin. Those are the guys who have won, you know, the Wood Cup. They've won an AOY. They've won a number of events. That's to me how it shakes out. Dudley's up here. Those guys are in a neck and neck race for number two. That's my way. Jody, you'd be the expert on that, man. What do you think?
No,
is that fair?
I think that's fair. And I think one of the sort of positives for Dudley, or like one of the additional things you can stack in his favor, is when he won his last AOI. You know, he had a bit of a drought, right? And you could have said, well, you know what? David Dudley is just good now. And then I think it was 2019, Dudley pops an AOI, makes it look easy. I think 2019. So I think that he's had a sort of a level of career longevity, like over eras, that's really impressive. Now that said, like I would say right now, you know, Thrift and Morgan are probably fishing at a higher level than Dudley. So if we end up like looking at this in the history books and you don't have any organization names attached, I think we could end up at a different place. But if you're just looking at, hey, these are FLW related accomplishments, I think that you laid it out pretty correctly.
And let's not forget, David Dudley was the youngest angler ever to win a BASS event. When he won on the James River in 1995, he was only 19 years old. He was also one of the 10, 15 youngest guys ever to qualify for the Classic too. So yeah, Dudley's enormously accomplished, fabulously entertaining, and I really enjoy talking to David Dudley. I get a big kick out of visiting with David. All right, now
if Dudley and Lefevre were both wearing a straitjacket, who gets out first? Jody, you're the expert here.
I feel like Brian like knows the answer to that question, so I'm gonna defer.
Jody, have you got a dark horse for us? I think have we gotten your dark horse yet?
Yeah, it's Jacob Wheeler. Nobody else.
Come on. I'm not going to let that happen. We can't allow that. We cannot allow you to pick Jacob Wheeler.
Gotta get your third
as a dark horse. You gotta move down the list a little bit.
No, I'm gonna go with Nick LeBrun for my dark horse. This is a guy who's got some serious Texas skills. He's at home on Toledo Bend. The man loves a cypress tree. He's won on the James River before. He could have a really good year.
I like that. That's fantastic. That's a really strong pick. BTC, where are we now? Are we ready to move on to NPFL?
Well,
Bailey, you give us a dark horse on you gave us a dark horse already, didn't you?
Yeah, I got yelled at for saying Justin Lucas.
Yeah, kind of a gray horse.
Right. I was trying to forget that.
Gray horse.
Ken, did you give yours up?
My dark horse on BPT. I didn't really pick a dark horse on BPT. Maybe I should have, but I'm one of the hosts and I don't have to play by the same rules.
This is true. We can move on.
I'm going to move on. Bailey, where we got NPFL, and I love the NPFL, quite honestly. I think it's a really cool circuit. There are a lot of great anglers fishing over there now, and they've got what I think is an interesting schedule that looks like a pretty tough schedule. I don't see a lot of just whack fests on that NPFL schedule. I think it's going to be challenging. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say I'm probably not the most qualified to speak on some of these locations either, hailing from New York.
Tonight.
But
nor am I. Nor am I. But they're starting with Logan Martin.
Schedule. You got this.
What's that?
It's a New York heavy schedule. You got this.
Well, it's not a New York. It's not a New York
heavy
heavy schedule for NPFL, but they got Logan Martin, and that starts next week. They've got Hartwell, Pickwick, Saginaw Bay, Michigan, the St. John's in September, which could be tough, and Lake of the Ozarks in late October, which could be a real challenge. So I think it's going to be a real test. I mean, that's not 6 events on the Ohio River, but that's still pretty tough going. And I love it as a test. I enjoy having a whack fest out there once in a while, but if you ask 10 bass pros if they'd rather fish a tough tournament or a whack fest, 9 of them are going to tell you, I want it to be tough, because they all think they excel when it's tough. This is going to be a chance for guys to really show off if they are good when it's tough. And
right, between getting bites and actually standing out. Yeah.
And there's some real talent over there, including some of the names we've already mentioned. But do you have a feel for who you might like on NPFL this year?
On this one, I think the way it sets up and to that point about these being like grinders, and there's not going to be like the greatest of bites, a guy that just seems to still catch fish a way he loves to do it, which I think he's one of the last remaining in his style, complete opposite of what we've been talking about, is I'm going John Cox.
John Cox. There you go. Cox is a phenom. I love John Cox too. He's such an outlier. A guy who, if he has electronics on his boat, doesn't use them to the same degree that other guys do. He seems to not make the sport more complicated than it has to be. And he's always smiling.
Always.
I love that about John Cox. He's definitely one of my favorite guys out there.
The mentality, I think, definitely plays to his style. I think he does it in ways where, like, you hear guys talk about, I don't know how he goes and catches these fish, because he kind of just seems to free float around. But I think we don't give him much credit as he's due. That dude can find fish shallow better than I think anybody on that series. But the videos of him and Carson showing him forward facing sonar were rather enjoyable to watch. But I think in this, when it's gonna be tough like that, him in a wacky rig, man, you can't count out Cox.
Can't beat it. You mentioned Carson. Carson, of course, was the very first AOY on the NPFL a few years ago, and another super talent who used NPFL kind of as a proving ground to show he could get it done. So some good anglers are going to NPFL because the schedule allows it, and some good anglers have come out of NPFL. And so I think it's become a really impressive circuit. Jody?
I like it.
NPFL? What do you think?
So Ken, we texted about this earlier, but we're pretty sure like the Elite Series guys fishing the NPFL, like they're in the clear for the whole season, right? This is what
they should have no trouble. No problem at all. There's a close one. Yeah, there's a close one, but it's not that close. The elites are going to be at Murray, and immediately after that, NPFL is at Hartwell. Well, that's what, an hour and a half away, something like that. And there's a couple of days, so it's possible that an elite guy might miss a day of practice or something, but it's not going to be anything of significance. If the elite guy misses the final cut or 2 cuts, he's going to have all the time he wants. BTC, why are you smiling?
I was reading the comments.
Oh, okay.
On YouTube.
We got something.
Yeah, there's someone in the comments here who says that Welcher is going to miss one, and I was going to pick Welcher, but if the guy in the comments is right, I'm going to take the best NPFL
He's
angler of all
he's
time. He's
He's
not
not.
right?
No, there's no elite conflictions.
No,
All right,
I
well,
think the only one's the first BPT event.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
would
'cause
make
that was gonna
like effects like Burge, and that's
Burge.
sort of it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna hurt Zach Burge.
All right. Well, all that being the case, give me Kyle Welcher. I feel like the man is
What?
incredible at fishing grimy, crappy places. He does it for fun. And there's going to be kind of a lot of grime out there. And you know what? Somehow he beat Patrick Walters last year on the Elite Series. Maybe he'll do it again.
He's a super angler, ain't no question. Obviously, reigning Bassmaster AOI, but he's on this NPFL schedule. He's going to have to catch a fish deeper than 5 feet. Is that going to be?
Do that?
I know he can do that, but I
He's
can't.
got like 12 scopes on his boat this year.
I'm shocked.
He'll be great.
Yeah.
I'm shocked you're picking him over Patrick Walters. I guess that's my shock here, Jody. That's all. I thought you and I were going to be just in lockstep, and here you are going all rogue on me.
Is that
That
a
wouldn't
white
be a fun
claw, Jody?
podcast. No, I got this at Publix today. This is a Southern Strawberry Lemonade. It's slightly sweet with 70 calories per can.
This is not a nutrition show. Ronnie, who you got for NPFL?
Sorry to derail us there. I just was curious on how the rest of this podcast was going to go if that was a white claw for Jody. But
if the numbers go up while discussing nutrition, then we will turn this into a nutrition show very quickly.
I think that Patrick Walters is too good to pick as even a favorite. Like if we're talking the guys aren't qualified to be dark horses, Patrick's fished. He's missed one event each of the first 2 years in the NPFL. So he's fished 10 out of the 12 and he's made 9 top 10s. And the only one he didn't, he was leading the event after day one and was so far offshore that when his stuff dried up, he had nowhere else to run. So he just took a 50th. But so I'm not going Patrick, even though I acknowledge how good he's going to do. I hope he channels his voodoo on the elites specifically, because he'll get his own on the NPFL when he does. But I like, now hang with me, because the back end of the schedule is weighted. I think 3 or 4 events. I think it's July, August, September, October for the last 4 out of 6 or something like that. I'm going David Williams, former Elite Series pro, one of the best Bassmaster Opens anglers of all time. I think he's won the points race for what we call the Southern Opens, which has by far been the hardest path of specific divisions back in the day. In my opinion, he's won AOY in that 2 or 3 times. He's qualified for the elites multiple times. He always seems to be in the check range for the Opens, and he's always he's got a couple where he's in the top 10 vying for a win. I think that these 3-day events for the NPFL where everyone fishes all 3, I think David Williams, it's suited for his style, especially with the schedule. I like David Williams, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won the final event at Ozarks. So I'm gonna put pressure on David to not only win AOI, but he's gonna cap it by winning the final event too.
Wow. All right. Okay, guys. I don't know. I was just going to ask you guys, because I thought this was a slam dunk kind of easy question. I was going to ask you if after Walters wins AOY on the Bass side and the NPFL side, if that was going to be one of the most historic seasons of all time. But
no doubt it will be.
But maybe not. Maybe. But you guys don't believe. I'm going to tell Patrick you guys are not believers.
Just clip off all the kudos I gave him before I didn't pick him. Like I didn't want to go too.
Oh, we're cutting all that out. We're only going to go with the embarrassing clips for you guys.
It's a danger of podcasts.
BTC, who you like NPFL?
I mean, Walters almost winning AOI, short one event, 2 years running, right? I don't know. To me, although Bailey made a good case for Cox.
He did.
Yeah.
No question.
Bailey, you made a good case for Cox.
Bailey tends to do that.
Oh, wow. The gloves are off. The gloves are off, gentlemen.
But I think Patrick Walters is going to win it. Dude's good.
He does
Stupid
have Drew
good.
Cook and Kyle Welcher with him now, and Buddy Gross, and it did get a lot harder.
Tommy Biffle.
Yeah.
Fritz.
I thought he retired.
Well,
Ken Duke?
Fritz retired from the Elite Series, but he's fishing NPFL in 2024, and the first event starts this coming week, and it's on Logan Martin, where Fritz won the '93 Classic. So that's pretty dang cool.
It is.
And I
still can't get over the fact he cranks with braid though. That's freaks me out. I don't know if I'll ever be able to deal with that.
Fishing with Fritz is an amazing experience. I've never seen anybody who has such good mechanics throwing a crankbait. He can throw a crankbait out of sight. Guys, let's talk. I did a monologue before tonight's show talking about the disparity between what you get for winning a year-end championship like the Red Crest or the Classic or the NPFL championship versus what you get for AOY. And it's night and day. You get so much more attention, so much more sponsorship, so much more money by winning the year-end championship than you do by winning what I think and what I'm betting you guys think is the more prestigious title. Do you think that will ever change, or is it just the spotlight of the year-end championship that how condensed it is that makes it more valuable? Bailey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the year-end championship. It's the glamour. That's what brings the eyeballs. Not saying that an AOI doesn't, but I think there's definitely more buzz around the year-end championship because that's just the culmination of the season, biggest pot to win, biggest prize, and obviously where the most of the spotlight is usually from a business side of things. I mean, if you guys have seen obviously the Classic, it's a spectacle. But I think AOI is, when you ask an angler, is always going to be number one, because I think for the people that know, amongst fellow anglers, that's a pride thing. Like that speaks the loudest to the people that are in it, to the sport for that reason. Whereas if you're a fan, you might just be looking at some of the bigger events that are a little bit more sparkly, if that makes any sense. But I think the real ones know that the AOI is what matters.
I'm right there with you, Jody. MLF, FLW, they've certainly fallen into that same tendency of putting a lot more emphasis on the big year-end title. Would you like to see that reverse personally, or do you think the payoffs and the attention are appropriate the way they are?
I honestly, I kind of go back and forth on this kind of stuff. Even for individual tournaments, like I'm a guy who kind of thinks that we pay first place too much, and should pay other people more. So I guess I gotta sort of stick by that and value the season-long accomplishment a lot. At the same time, most American sports, I feel like the team that wins the big game is like the one that we tend to remember, right? And I get overseas in soccer, that's different. Like you can win the league in soccer, I think, and I'm not a super soccer expert here, but like you can not win the championship and still have like an incredible season. But I feel like just over here, it seems like we really value the people that win the big game, that win the individual things. And so maybe just to try to have bass fishing be popular and how to try to have these anglers be popular, maybe we need to continue to place an outsized value on that, even if it does kind of give short shrift to some other guys who had really incredible years, and maybe just, didn't get the 2 or 3 key bites they needed, or made one wrong decision on day 2, or went into a creek too early on the first day of practice when they should have been in there in the afternoon on the second day of practice when it was popping off. So I don't really know where to go with it, to be honest.
You make a great point about the disparity between first place money and second place money, especially in the Classic, the Red Crest, NPFL. And I think that's because the leagues are so hung up on a 6-figure payday. I'll bet you that and they don't care what the anglers think for the most part. They don't care. They want to have a 6-figure payday because it looks good on the news release. And you talk about other sports. I'll throw a number out there I've thrown out before. If you add up all the money that has ever been paid out in the Bassmaster Classic, for a while it was a winner-take-all tournament for the first 5 years. And after that, they paid more places, and today they pay everybody. But if you add up all the money ever paid out in the Bassmaster Classic, you get around $29 million for 54 classics. I even counted next year's money. It's less than Floyd Mayweather made when he fought Conor McGregor. It's a lot less. That's ugly. That's really ugly. But I do hate the disparity. You know, a tournament that'll pay $300,000, $500,000 for first place, which is life-changing money for these guys for the most part. And second place won't even cover your entry fees for the next year. That's a brutal disparity. Ronnie, the disparity exists in every league. Your thoughts?
I'll say that when Matt Herron retires in a few years from bass fishing, he'll still remember his grandchildren. I don't know if Floyd Mayweather, with getting punched in the face for a living, will. So there comes a prize of getting paid.
Floyd Mayweather is an example. If you need another example, I can tell you that the 35th best paid NFL player makes more money this year than every classic competitor in history.
I understand.
And of course, he may have CTE. Let's go to Shohei Ohtani then.
Exactly. Well, he's actually makes a lot less because he'll make it in a bunch of years because he's just done the annuity or whatever. He's pushed it all up. But no,
here's the thing about Ohtani. Ohtani could also probably win AOI in any of these leagues within a couple of years, just based on what Bailey and I think of.
Yeah, they're all in
countrymen.
JDM.
I'm surprised Bailey didn't pick him as a dark horse in NPFL. Because I don't think any of the Dodger games.
You haven't taken our picks yet, so there's still time.
I don't think any of the Dodger games are conflicting with NPFL this year.
I say all that just picking with Ken's facts and figures and whatnot. But I do believe, to me, I might not be a real one like Bailey said, or I might be just a fan like Bailey said, but I think the Classic does way more. I think it's the hardest tournament in the sport to win. I think you can slip up on a day or two or a tournament at times on the Elite Series and win AOI. And I think if you have a bad hour in a Classic, you can't win the Classic. And so I think that the Classic, there's so much intensity to it. There's guys who are the best of all time that have never won it, that they've won AOYs. But then there's also, we can flip the script because I know that that's, what debates do. There are guys who have won Classics that'll never win AOYs just based on the style. But it's puzzled a lot of anglers, the Greg Hackneys and Gerald Swindles of the world and Aaron Martins, those guys who you expect to have one have never gotten one. I think Ike said it on one of the cast episodes on FS1 of the look back at bass history. He mentioned he's won one of both, and he said that AOI meant a lot more to him. But I think what that Classic does for an angler's career, the week that you do it, if you can overcome all the media, all the distractions, having your practice end on a Sunday, and then you get to go for just a few hours on a Wednesday, and then you fish on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the spring where the conditions can change daily. I think that's one of the hardest tournaments to win. And I think what it does, you are keyed up on adrenaline going into that final weigh-in where you could run a marathon the next day because you're still wired from this tournament and what it causes your emotions and your body to do. Whereas AOY is a big exhale at the end of a 9-event season that's been 9 months long. It's a big, I won the trophy, I exhale. Classic, you win the trophy, and you're just like ready to conquer the world and try to make it worthwhile. And so I think it's a lot easier to turn a Classic into $1 million than it is to turn an AOY into $1 million. But
no question.
I think that's question. So I will always, I've never cried when someone won AOY, but I've cried every time somebody wins the Bassmaster Classic. That moment where a guy is standing there waiting for another dude to come walk up and drop his fish. Somebody's going to win out of these two, the Classic. The wives are standing there at the base of the stairs. One of them is going to go up. That moment, I can't emulate it with any other thing in the world, and for fishing at least. So I think the Classic is accurately weighed compared to AOY because you would have made plenty of money throughout the year, maybe the equivalent to 300,000 if you win AOY. You're going to win 100 to 200,000 in winnings, and then you get the 100K shot in the arm at the end, and you probably have equated for 300,000, possibly 250, something like that.
I will tell you that in looking at the monetary standings at BASS since its inception in 1968, the leading money winner each year was either the guy who won the Classic or the guy who won one of the Mega Bucks tournaments that they were having in the 80s and 90s. It was never just the Angler of the Year and not one of those guys. BTC was always somebody who won the Classic, or for a long time the Mega Bucks payout was bigger than the Classic. People may not realize, Rick Clunn won 4 Classics. I think he won a total of well less than $200,000 by winning those 4 events. But I'd like to see a different payout, but that's not what the leagues want because it doesn't look as good in a press release.
When
I think
Cliff Pace
Anglers have voted on this as well. Sorry, BTC.
No, that's fine. When Cliff Pace won, did you cry for the same reasons or slightly different?
I don't see. We debate this.
That's before Ronnie's time. That was 2013.
No, I went to I was hanging around. That was the year before I started working, but I was watching it, and I do get emotional for it because I know how much it means to him. But like, I'll just throw some names out there that aren't necessarily the most titillizing, to have on Bassmaster Live or something. The LeHughs and Frasers of the world, the quiet guys, the Cliff Paces of the world. People are like, it doesn't mean anything to them. They're quiet. But I know how much it does mean to them, and they just in those moments sometimes don't know how to show their emotion, and I'm cool with that. I think it takes a bunch of different characters in bass fishing, and not ever. I always brag on Scott Canterbury because I could say something about the Alabama Crimson Tide, and he'll just start crying. Like he's just one who's going to just get emotional. Whereas Cliff Pace, he's going to be much more serious, but he's going to that meant a lot to him. So no, I think that the Classic is rightfully, no one's going to remember that the best team in the league in 2023 for the NFL was the Ravens. I think record wise, they'll remember who wins the Super Bowl if in a couple weeks.
BTC, would you have rather won Top Rod year-end championship or Angler of the Year? You said you finished second a lot of times, quite often to Ike.
Every time, every single
What the
time.
hell were you doing? I know Ike's your lifelong buddy since you guys were little kids, but once you saw how good he was, what the hell were you doing in the same club?
Well, what do you mean was I doing the same club? I mean
you gotta clear the field.
We were grooming him for
donors. You gotta find donors like me.
Well, we did eventually. Then,
so you didn't pick.
So did I.
Championship or AOI?
The Classic Championship.
Championship, okay.
Yeah, dude, nobody gets, AOI doesn't have groupies.
Well, even in a club thing, I'd rather win AOI than the year-end championship. For the most part, seems like a
championship gets a jacket.
Thing. But I mentioned in the monologue, I've had the conversation with a lot of guys through the years who have won both or have won one multiple times. And every one of the guys who had AOIs would trade at least one of their AOIs for a Classic. Gary Klein won 2 AOIs at BASS, and he's told me he'd gladly trade them both for one Classic because the spotlight is just so significant. The money is just so significant. The sponsorship opportunities are huge. So I get it. I just wish it was balanced a little better because I'm a geek about both sides, but I like it.
I do love, and you're correct, Ken, we'll do whatever we want because BAS is a business and it's not necessarily it's not for.
They'll take an angler vote, but that doesn't mean they pay any attention to the angler vote.
But I will say I pay attention to the angler votes. And so when I see certain anglers, I want to pay the full field for every elite event. And I see certain anglers, I don't judge them on that. They may be considering the younger anglers who need that paycheck. They don't need it. And they might just want it for the betterment of the league. But it is interesting, the voices who are like, no, we need to pay the winners. We don't need to disperse the lower. Like, this is a performance-based thing. So it is interesting to see some of the killers who vote, nope, keep it in the top 50 if you make the cut. If you don't, that's what we're here for, is to beat half each other. And so I think we've found a little bit of a happy medium where it's not the full field for elite events and stuff like that. It's a couple below the cut. And then for AOY, it might be top 20 in AOI instead of just top 10. I think there's a little bit of balance, but I do think it is a performance man's game, so I see why it is the way it is. But like you said, Bass is for profit. We're not for socialism.
All of the leagues, none of the leagues are nonprofit operations. None of the leagues are charitable organizations, and none of the leagues are publicly owned. And I get that. And they don't owe any of us any sort of transparency, and they don't owe us any explanation. I think I understand a lot of the reasons why they do things, and I think some of it is the optic. And I respect that. I got no problem with their rationale. I just disagree with it sometimes and think there's a better path, even PR wise. But guys, where are we? BTC?
Well, we still do dark horses, don't we, for the NPFL? We didn't do our dark horse. I've got them.
Okay,
that's right.
Ronnie, then you lead off.
Sorry.
Who's your NPFL dark horse? No, well, go for it, man.
I had 3 for the NPFL, and I'm glad that Jody said Welcher for AOY. I will not pick him as my dark horse. I'm going to pick Jesse Wise. Jesse Wise.
Okay.
People may not know who he is. I grew up with his younger brother. He fished on the East Carolina bass fishing team with me. Jesse's been a stick around North Carolina forever. He got to show that on the NPFL last year, fighting and duking it out. I think he got top 3 in AOY. And with the schedule being shallow grinders at the end of the year, he's got one in Hartwell where he was successful a few years ago. I really like Jesse Wise to be somebody that y'all may not know that is one of those that can flat out catch him. Now, I don't know if he could catch him to like the Elite Series level, but I am thankful for the NPFL on revealing some of these guys that are really good in their region that are getting to show it, more nationally.
Yeah, Jesse Wise, 3rd in AOI this year. We'll still qualify him as a dark horse, but yeah, an up-and-comer definitely. All right, Bailey, have you got a dark horse for NPFL?
I do. I think it's a guy that this year, not the greatest start that you want on the Elite Series, but has shown that he could catch him on the NPFL, and I'm going John Sokup. I think it's a make-or-break year for him.
Yeah, there's a guy who had some serious early success. Yeah, there's a guy. I'll drop into my that voice. Yeah, had some early success with NPFL, a couple of top 10 AOIs, top 5 AOI seasons, I think, the first 2 years, and coming back. So gotta like that. Yeah, he's a threat. Jody?
It'll be interesting to see what he does this year.
Yeah,
because it'll be just a matter of, because he had such a poor first year on the Elites. Either he's going to come back with vengeance, or who knows, it might just spill out.
There's no way he can't have 15 bad ones, Bailey. So he's going to have some good ones in there mixed in for sure.
I
hope he comes back with a vengeance in the Elites, because he watches Bass After Dark.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. Jody, you got us a dark horse for NPFL?
Got a dark horse. I don't think anyone else is going to pick him either. I'm taking Josh Hooks.
Ooh.
Ronnie knows.
I know
this is
Josh.
A Carolina guy. Fished
State.
for NC State back in the day, I think. All I know is I follow the guy on Facebook, and he crushes big fish like basically all the time, as far as I can tell. I think he fishes Sharon Harris a lot. He fishes with Tyler Trent too, who is like incredible. And I figure if you fish with a guy that good, you're probably that good too. So give me some Josh Hooks.
Well, keep in mind, I've fished with Van Dam, Iconelli, Dance. I'm not
not in like tournaments though, right?
True.
And
Bill Dance in a tournament.
Okay. Did you win?
No.
Oh. I blame Bill.
Yeah, that's my story too. So Mr. Hooks, what was his first name? Josh Hooks. Somebody to watch out for. I like
and
I like
very
it.
fishy last name.
Fabulous last name. If you're going to go, great names. Yeah, that's another show for us. BTC, great angler names.
Or a top 10 list.
That's our top 10 list for sure.
The best best angler name is
John
Flash
Cox.
Butts. It's not close.
Sorry.
What is it again?
It's Flash Butts. It's not close. It has nothing to do with actually fishing. It's just amazing.
That is a good name.
Incredible.
Yeah,
That's
seen him.
Solid. Yeah.
Who's the guy? Lake? Something Lake? No. Oh, fudge. Never mind. Carry on.
So
It'll come to me.
Ronnie
later.
was going to say something. He
Like
knows
3 in
more
the
about
morning.
Josh.
Yeah, Ronnie.
I was just gonna say I think that Pickwick, Southern Swing, Hartwell. I think Josh is fantastic. I think he's one that's made enough money locally that he's willing to pay that pretty penny, honestly, for 6 events to go do that. But yeah, and Jamie Fajardo is one of his partners as well in North Carolina, and he was the one who, I mean, for the 4 or 5 straight weeks in North Carolina when they were breaking 40-pound limits, like Jamie had won every one of those tournaments that broke that hit. All the newsletters and podcasts. So I like the pick.
Josh Butts.
Oh, that is a real fisherman, but that's not. He said Josh Hooks.
Yeah, I know Josh Hooks. Now BTC. What Jody's comment was earlier, that if you fish with this guy in tournaments, you're probably in that neighborhood skills wise. That's going to tie in to my pick in a moment. But have you got some NPFL picks for us?
NPFL. Are we on Dark Horse?
Well,
Yeah.
See, I've lost track of everything.
Ronnie, where are we at?
Yes.
No. Have you picked your? See, when you wear the smoking jacket steals brain cells. Have you picked your favorite to win NPFL yet? And if you have, then we'll move on to your dark horse.
Patty Walters,
of course. Yeah, Patrick Walters. I'm with you. And your dark horse?
Timmy Reams.
Timmy Reams, yeah, that guy. What he's got 3 straight. Every year he's been top 5 or 6 in AOY over at NPFL. So
it's not really a dark horse.
It's not really a dark horse. This is the Ronnie Moore dark horse theory that I can't quite get in line with, where he picks a guy who's won AOY 6 or 7 times and then says he's a dark horse.
At least I didn't say John Cox.
Yeah, exactly.
Kidding. No, you didn't say John.
Jacob Wheeler.
If you had said John Cox, you could say the other John Cox. At least you could do that.
Yeah, he's not fishing this year though.
He retired. Yeah.
I'm going on the Jody White line of thinking here, and
Jody White for NPFL
who fishes. Well, yeah, if he were fishing it, I'd pick him. Of course, but he wouldn't be the dark horse. He'd be my favorite to pick to win. I'm going Justin Kimmel. And Justin's a legit dark horse because he hasn't finished 3 times in the top 6 of NPFL AOI. Justin's had some success over there. He's going back after a season in the Opens, and I think he's going to be good. And when I talk about the people he fishes with and hangs with and rooms with, it's people like Patrick Walters, who I think is my pick for AOI over there.
Yeah.
All right.
Good pick.
Well, BTC, what else we got? What else we want to do here?
I want to talk of the Opens, and it came up on the message board a while back, but everybody wanted to hear guys' picks on the Opens. Who's favorite to win the Opens? Let's get a little preview. Ronald, take it away.
I picked Jody White.
Oh, that's right.
We're not talking cherry pickers, Ken. We're talking about guys fishing all 9 of them.
And the name calling starts. The name calling begins.
Hey, by definition, I just called him by definition thesaurus. I didn't call him, like a terrible human. He was a charity. He fished one event.
In defense of our friend Jody, at least if he was cherry picking, which is perhaps a fair statement, at least he got it done.
Yeah, he officially.
Let the trophy talk, Jody.
Let the trophy talk. There you go. Perfect, Bailey.
If I was at home, I would have it right behind me this whole show. Okay? Trust me.
Riding it.
If I had one, it would be a necklace, Jody. It would be a necklace. Okay?
Yes.
Even though
they're fairly heavy, actually, so I would need to work out more.
I don't give a damn about posture if I had one of those trophies.
I'm the last one who could talk about trophies because I'm the only media member here that doesn't fish tournaments. Everybody else gets to dabble dab, and I'm not allowed to. So I just get to cover them. But BTC, we got a huge field of really talented, skilled anglers, veterans, but also really young guys as well. We were trying to bracket in a meeting the other day on how do we balance covering the new guys and shed light on them, but also showcasing the veterans that are coming back to the Opens to qualify for the Elite Series. I mentioned David Williams earlier as being one of the best Opens anglers of all time. We basically have the best Opens angler of all time, Randall Tharp, coming back. I would be interested to see how he does this year. The same narrative I'd say about Jordan Lee, maybe, or something that his style wouldn't lend it to forward-facing sonar. But I think this schedule it'll have some of those definitely highlighted in it. The St. Clairs, probably the Leeches of the world, Hartwell at the Fall, things like that. But I like Okeechobee to kick it off. I like Santee Cooper. You're going to have Ouachita is going to be a frigid one probably, and that's going to be a Scopers as well. I think there's got to be a balance. I really like, other than Dakota Eber, because I saw him in the comments as well. I'm glad that Bailey or Jody didn't pick him as a dark horse for BPT, because that's not a thing anymore for him. He will be one to watch, but I think his roommate, Tristan McCormick, I'm interested to see how Tristan does. He's won a couple opens, or he's won an open, got really close to winning another one in the same season. He's made a couple classics from the college series and from the opens. I really do like Tristan with the way the schedule sets up. Some guys I'll throw out there as well. Joey Nania, he's not necessarily a dark horse, but he's really been a veteran of the series. He's made a couple classics through the opens, which is incredibly hard. I'm excited for Joey this year. And I'm trying to think of
He's the guy that looks like Miles. He's the Miles Berghoff.
They're the same person.
Doppelganger.
Yes,
they're the same person.
Sweetwater boys. The Sweetwater boys. Yes.
Joey's been at it decades. He's a very young man, but he's been at it for decades and got a lot of support from his family early on. Great young man.
He's like, I think, the only angler to like win the junior series, win an open, make the class. Like he's got like one of those weird, scoregamis where he's done stuff no one else does because he started so young. But I think there are a really, really good handful of guys in there. I'm trying to think of all the ones who maybe, you've got the Russ Lanes, the Cliff Paces that are coming back. They'll definitely flex their muscles, but I think that there's a good group. If we look at the 9 qualifiers from the opens last year, one of them was over the age of 30. Everyone else was under 30 years old. I don't think it'll be like that this year. I think it'll be a good split. I think we'll have maybe 2 or 3 of the former pros who stepped to the opens to try to become an Elite Series pro again. I think we'll have, 1 to 3 of those make it. You'll have 1 to 3, young guys that, will make it. And then maybe even some veterans that are still younger, like Sam George, Kyle Austin, some of these guys that have been at it and been so freaking close. I think that this is maybe a year they break through. I like that there's 3 or 4 events on the schedule we really haven't been to before, or if we have, it's been a long time.
Jody, you fishing this year? What are you fishing?
I mean, I'm fishing whatever I can fish, but the schedules hate me this year. I think first of all, I do have some thoughts on this, but I want to hear everyone else's thoughts first. We're all podcasters here. How's Panger going to do? Is he going to make it? I think this could be the year.
I hope so.
I hope he does. Yeah, I hope he does. I don't want that to cut into my.
I think things are better, more stable in his world, in his personal life. So I think that should play to his favor.
Yeah, I hope he makes it, but I don't want that to cut into my. I don't want that to cut into my BTL appearances, because occasionally I get put into timeout for insulting the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, and I can't have it cut into my appearances more than that.
He's really good at grinders, Jody, and I don't really see many grinders on there. Not saying he can't do it, but my silence, I didn't want my silence to be like guilt, like I didn't think he'll do it. But like I think that he's going to do well in a couple events for sure. But I think that like Ken said and Brian said, he's got a lot of better irons in the fire than any of us could probably have, honestly.
Fair enough. Anyway, outside of Pangerack, who I love.
Same here.
I like Dakota. Obviously, I think he's the best fisherman in that field by a decent margin.
Bogo,
and then I think, and then I think that Emil Wagner is going to have an awesome season. That dude is on fire, has been on fire, and he's an incredible fisherman and a great dude. I'm really looking forward to watching him this year.
Where's he from?
Yeah, that's a good one. Denmark.
Denmark.
Emil's
he's
actually
grown
from
up
Denmark, so I'm technical.
Yeah, I think he's like South Carolina or Georgia or something.
He's grown up in Georgia, but yeah, he actually knows multiple languages. His parents are, I think they speak, I guess, Danish in the house, and
that's awesome.
He's kind of an interesting dude.
Nice.
I've got Jody. I will say I have 20 names with dashes from the whole EQ list. 20 names with dashes beside them, and I did put a dash beside Emil. I just could not recall that. So good pick.
That was a smart thing to do.
Ronnie, if he makes it, you'll have to add another flag to the poll. The Denmark flag.
Well,
Nobody from Denmark has ever won the ASS event. So,
well,
which is true, but
time for
nobody
first.
really. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I don't think anybody expected.
I
it
don't
to.
even know if any of the Elite Series
We have
guys
low
picked Denmark
expectations.
out on the map.
Yeah, well,
No.
you want to do that test. That's not a test you want to do in public.
We don't need that for the sport, Ronnie. We
Yeah,
don't need that.
that's
No.
not
Don't worry,
good. That's not good.
Floyd Mayweather doesn't know where Denmark is either. Don't worry.
Well,
Don't worry.
no,
Exactly.
Floyd Mayweather has been the champ for so long because he never get hit. Ronnie, come on, he doesn't get hit.
No,
He's
I'm just
sharp as a tack.
insulting his intelligence. 50 Cent challenged him to read a book, and he just never took that
Yeah,
challenge.
that would not go
Wow.
well either. But yeah, hey, until a couple of years ago, nobody from Vermont had ever won a BASS event, and Jody actually became the second guy from Vermont ever to win a
Shaftesbury.
BASS event. Yeah,
Who was the first?
was it
Brian Lavelle, our boy.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, he was
LaBelle?
the first. Just a year or two before Jody won.
Oh, bastard got
And
you.
what was terrible was so Jody and I are texting back and forth, and he's saying, "Am I the first guy from Vermont ever to win one?" And I'm checking, and just as I figured it out, he figured it out too, and I think his bubble was burst momentarily.
What if any win?
LaBelle, I don't know, I can't remember.
He won an open too. He won it on.
Yeah, he won an
Champlain.
open. You want to
Yeah,
Champlain?
Okay, it was an open.
2018? I think 2018.
He's got a brother, right? And there two of them.
Not
All right,
to
moving
my
on.
knowledge, but that's possible.
No, you're thinking about Ryan and Brett. They're basically brothers, but they fish Champlain a bunch too.
What's her last name?
They're different, but
They're Carnwright and Latinville,
Latinville.
or at least the guys that Ronnie's thinking of, which I don't know if they're who you're thinking of. We're
This
we've got
got
a real
weird.
lazy chain of thoughts here,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
and they're in New York while we're at it. But
So did we go? Guys gave your picks for the opens. Ken, you're gonna defer on that one, right?
My dog ate my
Ken's
homework
going with
on
Ish
that.
Monroe.
So yeah,
All
I'm going Ish. I'm thinking that Bill Dance is going to make a run. I'm also going to be watching very carefully for a young Randy Fight, Rick Klein's cousin, who hasn't fished a
really?
professional derby in, I don't know, maybe 30 years. So yeah, no, I'm not.
Jody, is
no
there any truth to the rumor that they're bringing Shelly Sanders back for this 2024 season?
I have no comment.
BTC will not let that go. He is not happy that Shelly Sanders is not part of the mix.
That was a turning point. I'll leave it at that.
There's two
Guys
names
wanna
I'll throw
touch-
out there for the opens.
Okay.
Yes.
Before we move on, just gotta give him some love. But one that was actually pretty close
Kelly?
last year, and I think is one of my favorite human beings on this industry, is Keith Tuma from Minnesota. Fished a classic last year. One of the greatest people to have a beer with and go fishing with. But I got to support my kayak folk too, being the lone kayak person in this group here. And Christine Fisher is actually going to be fishing the opens this year too. Somebody to keep your eye on.
Which, being in a kayak like she is a real disadvantage, I think. But kudos to
5 dead fish penalties every day. Just kidding.
Yeah.
She's not fishing all 9, is she?
I think she's starting with. I want to say she's fishing all 9. I'll have to double check, but she had actually announced on one of our shows she was.
I think Anastasia
awesome.
Patterson's another girl doing all 9. I think
That's fantastic if Christine Fisher is doing it, because she's obviously legit in that kayak world, and she's had a ton of success. And I am awaiting the day when a woman qualifies for the Bassmaster Classic legitimately, or for the Elite Series. For the Elite Series on any basis, the only way into the Elite Series is legitimate. And the two women who have been to the Classic did not get there through a legitimate path. So it'd be great to see somebody come in there and do it on the merits.
even though I wouldn't be shocked if Pam Martin Wells maybe could have back in the day.
Yeah. I look at the track record. It's just not there. Just not there. Anyway, BTC, what else we got? Do we need to let these gentlemen go?
No, we got a couple good ones left. I want to touch on Rookie of the Year real quick.
Oh my God.
Buzz through that, and then I got a couple of questions that I want to predictions for some other things. But Rookie of the Year, Ronnie, Bassmaster Elite Series Rookie of the Year.
John Garrett. Young man,
Talent.
old
A
soul,
real talent.
no graphs or graphs. I think even though he's a young man, he's fished so many years of the Opens. I think he qualified for the Classic from the 2016 College Classic bracket, and he fished Conroe in 17. And since then, he's fished the Opens. And so he's had his adversity, not culling, and missing out on another Classic berth, barely missing the Elite Series. He makes it in this year. He's weather tested. Some of these other guys are a year or two into their deal, and they jumped and they just qualified immediately. That could equal good success as well. But I think just like Joey Cifuentes has been battle tested from his time on the FLW Tour, and
to call Cifuentes a rookie is a stretch. That's always been a problem with the Elite Series rookie situation.
Unlike our parameters for this show, where we could pick any dark horses, we do have parameters for Rookie of the Year. And if you made less than
they've changed multiple times. They've changed multiple times.
We only changed it after Brent Ehrler and Jacob Prozik won Rookie of the Year. And we're like, this is BS. These guys have won millions. So we said 500,000. And so Joey was weather tested, but if Jody can attest to this, he hadn't really won a bunch. He had gotten good top 10s, had been close, but never won. But I think that just like Joey was worn and tattered coming into the Elite Series, I think John Garrett is the same as well. He's got a good thing going. He's one that's been able to make a living. I don't want to speak for his finances, but like make a living, find sponsorships, create good relationships through the Opens on his way to qualifying. So he's going to be well set.
Jody, who's MLF got brand new and looking exciting for 2024?
I mean, I will say, our Rookie of the Year this last year also won AOY. Which is fairly notable. Yeah, and that's have a really good. Often. No, it's pretty rare. Was Shin the last guy to do it on the FLW Tour?
He was AOY in what, 03 or 04, somewhere in there.
Shinichi Fukai.
Like and Timmy did it in 2000 for Bassmaster.
Tim did it in 2000, and Kevin actually should have been given credit for it in 92, but because he had fished a year qualifying, they didn't treat that as a rookie season. Another situation where Bass has come up with some screwy rules that did not make a lot of sense. Anyway, but hey, rules that don't make a lot of sense. That's the world of bass fishing, as near as I can tell.
True,
it's a key part. Yeah.
How can we confuse these people who are trying?
The world doesn't make sense right now. So
hey, the NFL added an extra playoff spot. They've added extra games to seasons. The records will be tainted for them as well. It's interesting how sports are doing that now with adding stuff, and you're like, this is going to.
But those make sense. Those make sense. That's a pure money grab. Changing the definition of rookie is not a money grab. It's just.
So who's your pick then, Ken?
Can't we talk about the fascinating topic of changing rules and
Bass moving this?
Everybody likes to play 3-card Monty with the rules and stuff. It's not. I'm not picking on Bass. I see.
Oh, you're picking on Bass, but that's okay. I understand.
I'm picking on Bass. If I'm picking on Bass, it's because I know their history better than the others. But it's not because I'm trying to take.
Sometimes it's good to be picked on. It means people are like, paying extra attention to you and stuff.
Oh, I've been picked on my whole life.
If people listen to it and try to choose the wheat from the chaff and benefit from it, then it's good to be picked on. But if it's to no effect, then you're just whistling in the dark, as they say.
I like Nick Hatfield over there in the MLF.
Smooth segue, wasn't it?
And
Nick's a good one.
And Keith Carson, of course, but
I want to go fishing with Keith Carson.
He's not
too far from me. You did? I want to go flipping and punching with Keith Carson because he doesn't use anything over an ounce here in Florida, and that kind of surprises me.
In case anybody here listening hasn't heard this story yet, I fished the ICAST Cup. It was me, Keith Carson, John Cox, and Hunter Shryock was in the boat too. And I outfished them all. So
that's a loaded team.
Yeah, and dude, that boat's huge. John's Crestliner. My God, things like 12 foot wide. There was no problem having Forrest on the boat, but yeah, I just want everybody to know I outfished all three of them.
Well, if BTC and Keith Carson got together and did their other businesses, you guys would have the best wood and paint for interior decorating. You guys would be set with a monopoly over here.
That's right, and doing podcasts at night. But yeah, so who do you like over there? MLF rookie.
Honestly, I kind of like Drew Gill a lot. I think that he is kind of on the up and up. He seems like he's catching them really good. He's going a lot of places. But he's going to fish both tours. He's going to fish the invitationals and he's going to fish the BPT. Meanwhile, Ron Nelson is going to fish just the BPT. He is a really good shallow water angler, which sort of ties in with my theory of the season. He's also a phenomenal sight fisherman, which may come into play certainly at Dale Hollow. So go ahead and give me Ron. I like Ron a lot. It's not a dark horse at all, but the man is an awesome fisherman. Fun to watch.
Fantastic. Anybody else got a pick for MLF rookie? Want to weigh in on it?
I'll rock with Matt Steffen on this one. I think he's a jack of all trades, but I'm also just kind of fascinated by his approach to the game and like the whole thing he's done on Panger's show on BTL of how he has somebody that helps him mentally train. I think that stuff is kind of fascinating. Really? Yeah, he really thinks strategic on like the operations and the back end side before he even gets to the boat ramp, which for me, like that's why I study like Polnick all the time, just from the mental process. I'm just fascinated by it. So I'll go Steffen.
All right. Ronald?
No idea. But if Hatfield is a rookie, I'll take Nick.
Yeah. That's what I read. I like Nick. Nick's good angler.
Watch out for Jacopo.
Galelli.
Is he a rookie?
The Italian fighter. You guys are just picking anybody who's not from the U.S. I see what's going on here.
I waited till the last pick of the show, though, Ken. I didn't lead off with it. It was my dark horse of dark horses.
No, we're talking walleye tour next. So that wasn't your last pick. We're going walleye next.
I do want to say, Ronnie, you guys got a very impressive angler coming in, Kyle Patrick.
Yeah.
Dude, that kid gets it.
I'll say
how to be a pro.
So savvy.
100%. Like every year we have 2 or 3. Like I text every single qualifier when they do qualify and say, congratulations, I'm Ronnie Moore. If we haven't talked yet, this is my number. If you need anything, if you have any questions, if I don't have the answer, I'll lead you to somebody at Bass. Every year there's always 2 or 3 guys, and I like to tell on who it is because it's a good sign. 2 or 3 guys who will always reach out and keep my phone hot in the off season with questions or thoughts. And it was David Gaston and Joey Cifuentes last year, and this year it's Kyle Patrick. I think Kyle is well prepared. He's already been by the studio. That's something that half the Elite Series pros haven't done, is stop by and shoot some videos with us. So Kyle is his want to is there. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of these guys will hate on the young guys, the young generation, forward-facing sonar, whatever. But a lot of the makeup of some of these young guys who are at least trying to make it or do make it is their want to. I think we have more people these days under the age of 30 that have, this is my goal, not I'm going to fish these and maybe I'll make it. Like this is, they have that desire and strategy and plan. And so Kyle is definitely right there with them. He just
needs to check out KGP fishing on YouTube.
Yeah, his social media is fantastic.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Maybe the best.
Kyle, awesome content.
I'll back up that Kyle statement, and I think Jody might know as well, but Kyle has rained terror on people in New York locally for a while. And I fished with Kyle before he even went to the Opens. And the things that dude does is out of the box, but it works obviously for him. But we fished a lake in New York before he went to the Opens, and he just wanted to get a feel for what it looked like at the bottom. She's a shallow guy through and through. That's how he won locally in New York. But this dude, before technology, he had live scope on his boat, would put goggles on and swim down to the bottom and see what everything looks like to get a feel for it. So it's
Really?
it's cool. Just you just nerd out on all that and would make
the
adjustments
legend
from what he
grows,
sees
dude.
swimming down there. So
That's
he's
fantastic.
good people, man.
Yeah. You could tell that he was like he has too much personality to be a live scope guy.
I mean,
He's
shoot,
gonna
look
be
at
a
his
star.
opens picture. He's got
Whether he-
character.
He is
Yeah.
wired. Here you go.
Whether he catches them or not, that guy's going to be a star.
Yeah. Yep. He's going to be successful.
I
Yeah.
think if you look at John Cruz, who is the epitome of like industry success and like doing things the proper way for most part, he picks a good group of anglers to be on the Missile Baits team. And those guys seem to always work hard. Caleb Summerall showed up here, short notice, detoured just to shoot some videos. Kyle's being one of those guys. That tells me John was on the fast track of knowing and seeing that in Kyle, that he's a hard worker. So if you see someone probably added to the Missile Baits top level team, he's probably had their due diligence on a hard worker and industry smart guy.
That's a good move. Good move by Johnny. That kid knows what's up. All right. I got a couple more things, Ken, that I just want to throw out here, and then we can wrap. All right. So I guess maybe this is mostly directed to you, Ronnie. Will we see any changes in forward-facing rules going into next year?
Oof.
Your prediction.
Well, I'm allowed to say this, I think. I am on that committee that was formed, the forward-facing sonar committee. So we've had some meetings. I'll be there at Toledo to see the boats and check out the setups of forward-facing sonar on all these guys' rigs, and just to make note, see how the advancements, see what it's used for in this application, that application, just so we can get more intel, because it is something we don't know a ton about in terms of effect on conservation. Gene Gilliland is obviously keeping his eye on that. I'm happy to be a part of it because I'm glad Bass didn't jump the gun on making a decision, because I told this to Chase Anderson, was that we will be the leaders of this deal. If we banned it, then everyone else would most likely follow suit in some form or fashion. And so if we're not sure unabashedly, like if we should do it or not, we should do our due diligence and take our time. And so 2024 is the year of due diligence. I think we'll learn a whole lot more about it. And I don't know if we're going to be prepared to make any decisions that fast for 2025. I do like that we measure twice or thrice and cut once on some of these decisions. And so I think that if it takes 2 years of this, the anglers that don't like it will be calling for it. The fans that don't like it will be calling for it. But I think this team that's formed, the anglers, and obviously don't let viewership, like everybody's saying, oh, your views were down. Nobody knows our views. All the fans, that nobody knows. Like, all I know is that the views are high at the beginning of the year, every year, and the views tail off as we get towards the summer. People are going to the beach. They're going smallmouth fishing. Those are always
tournaments.
boring. And then we have college football. So like the views always tail off. So don't be like, oh, it's because of forward facing. They did it when it was 2D. So I don't think viewership is necessarily a large of part as everyone thinks it's going to be. I think we're really thinking the other factors of conservation, impact, affordability, consumerism for the sport and industry. I think there's a lot of things we're factoring in. So I'd rather us be the rate of a tortoise than the rate of a hare on this one, BTC.
So your prediction is?
Nothing significant will be changed. If I had to call it, we would maybe the odds are higher of limiting it.
Yeah. I don't think a ban is reasonable.
It will never happen. It will never be banned.
But a potential limit, or at least a conversation about limit, I think is legit. But anyhow, that's just my thoughts.
We could pay more in our payouts, but anglers could also spend a whole heck of a lot less on their transducers if they wanted to save money or come out more in the green. So that's the way we're looking at it.
Yeah.
Bailey, what do you think? I'm just kidding. Go ahead, BTC.
Yeah, Bailey, what do you got? Jody?
I don't know. I could go either way on it, honestly, because I enjoy watching and actually the fishing of itself without it, but and same thing with it. Like I love watching it all the same. I can't resonate with anybody's arguments of I don't like watching these guys, stare with their heads down. I can understand like if you're a fan of it, but you're not like, I don't know. For me, I'm always trying to learn as much as I can. That's why I love like live mix, things like that.
It's also the anglers, man. Like Milliken will stand and look at his electronics all day, and he's entertaining as hell. Some of these guys have no personality. That's why I said Kyle Patrick must be a shallow water angler because he's got some personality. Some of these kids, man, like, dude, take some classes or something. I don't know.
I think there's some of that, but
be entertaining.
I'm a little biased here that I could watch. I could watch these guys do anything really, just because I love learning from each and every one of them. But I can understand from an entertainment standpoint why some people, like when you turn on their heads just staring down the whole time. But I also get that you're not going to want to. These guys are competing for their careers. Like it's not something you're going to try to tell them that they have to go off of a script or say certain things. It's better for them as an individual from their business standpoint. I think you should influence them on and off the water. They need to bring out their personalities more. And we've seen some guys that do that recently. I'm sure as you've seen, especially behind the scenes, Ronnie, of guys that are willing to let people see behind, the curtain of who they are. And it's benefited them. But I don't know. I don't really have a dog in this fight because I'm cool. If it was banned, I'm cool. If it doesn't get banned, I'm still fine with it. Like I like it either way.
I think it's funny when everyone says like it's boring to watch them. They catch more 5-pounders now than they did before. So I get like it's smallmouth, whatever. We just ended. It's like Ken said. We end on 3 smallmouth events. We end on 2 smallmouth events. That's the taste that's left in the mouth. I texted Lisa Talmadge last off season when we were doing the opens live, and the last 3 were in the fall. I said, we got to do it in the fall. We saw guys on forward facing, but they're throwing a football jig or they're throwing a big plug or throwing a glide bait instead of, the Demiki style. And so I think it's just when you showcase it. And I think Ken's right that smallmouth at the end leaves a bad taste in the haters of that style's mouth for sure.
And I guess the last thing, a prediction on where this will go, the Zaldane Milliken feud that is heating up lately. Where does this go? Anyone?
Jody?
Physicalities?
I don't have a prediction, but I am enjoying the content.
I'd like to see.
I mean, there's a lot of cameras. You can hold prize fights for charity, things like that. I think Bass should get into this.
Hey, Barstool just put 400 mil at Rumble, so let's get some rough and rowdy going with the guys.
Rough and rowdy, yeah. 3 1-minute rounds. I don't know. It might not be
live. Mix it up.
No,
I agree.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay to have guys that genuinely don't like each other. I think that's totally A-okay to have.
I agree.
It's going to create something positive for both brands. And who knows? The only thing I could say is if we have a camera in both of their boats day 1 of the season and they both start on the same spot, that would be God's hand blessing Bass Live right there. But that would just be luck.
True.
I don't want to take. I want to say, and I don't want to steal your thunder here, Ken, but I'm pretty sure it was you that you were telling me, we were in a conversation that the sport of bass fishing in itself either needs more personalities like a Matt Robertson and such, but also needs rivalries, something that we're talking about right now to add some spice.
I think rivalries are good for any sport. I don't think that bass fishing has had a meaningful rivalry since the late 2000s when Kevin Van Dam and Skeet Reese were vying for AOI titles and so forth.
Kevin Landry, Boy Duckett, that was a good one.
That was one day, basically.
I
know. In the 70s, they had Bill Dance and Roland Martin. Those were rivalries, but they were mostly friendly rivalries. Especially Bill and Roland; those guys were friends. And Skeet got along, but rivalries are nice when you got them and they're legit. I'm not sure that that 2 guys, and it'll be interesting to see where Zaldane and Milliken rank, because if they're not up near the top of AOI or events, then nobody's going to care unless there's bloodshed. And then it's interesting. If it bleeds, it leads,
Hey, journalism 101.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got.
You had Ike and the dog. That's a more recent one, 2013. Ike and the dog.
Yeah, but they made up.
They did make up.
Ike
Yeah.
apologized.
I don't know if the dog ever made up. Ike did though, right?
Ike made his apology. I don't know that the dog accepted. But until Ike has to go back to Grand, it's not really an issue. So, and he didn't make the classic. And I wonder how much of that was in Mike's head that he's got to go back and potentially face that now extremely aged dog.
It's a reckoning now. Yeah.
So anyway, guys, thanks so much. We really appreciate you joining us tonight on Bass After Dark. It's been a lot of fun. And we're going to take y'all off. We also want to mention where folks can keep up with you. And Ronnie Moore, Bassmaster Live, terrific job on there. Elite season will be kicking off very soon. Classic coming up in mid to late March. So you're going to be a busy man very soon. Thank you so much, Ronnie. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We will see y'all soon. Appreciate y'all having us.
Jody White, host of Major League Fishing's Bass Fishing Podcast, senior editor of the website over there, one of the most passionate anglers I know. This guy's got it really bad, really, really bad. Yes.
My camera froze up, Ken. I'm sorry. I wasn't there when you let Ronnie go.
Oh, sorry
Forgot
about that.
to mention to Nathan. Remember we talked about earlier, Ken?
Okay. Yeah. Guys, Bailey, Jody, Brian wants to snap his fingers and your picture disappears. So, well, I'm going to let Brian talk you out.
Yeah. So, and then you do the outro and Nathan, look for it.
Okay.
And then
Jody,
Thanos is out of here.
I'm a huge Jody White fan.
Same here.
Looking forward to seeing you down the road, friend, and continue the terrific work with MLF.
Yeah, and good job in Florida earlier this month, Jody. Nathan?
Wow.
Bam, nailed it.
Bailey Eigbrett, president of the I Hate Ken Duke Club.
Accepting new members.
I know you would never ask me to be on one of your shows, so naturally we had to bring you on one of ours. So thank you for that. And should we tell the story of why you're president of the I Hate Ken Duke Club?
We can, if you'd like.
I'll let you go.
You're talking about the time that you labeled me as the FNG?
No. Well, we could tell that one. Yeah. When Bailey was just getting started in the PR world of the outdoors, hunting, fishing, a friend of mine was his mentor, a fabulous guy named Josh Ward from Oklahoma. And I was going to this junket that was going to be in Spirit Lake, Iowa at the Berkeley and Pure Fishing offices there. And Josh, who was Bailey's boss at the time, said, Bailey's the FNG, which stands for effing new guy. He said, give him a hard time. So Bailey picks me up at the airport, and another outdoor media person. And I proceeded to give Bailey a pretty hard time for a very long drive. And and Bailey handled it really well. He just didn't ever let it get him down. And I apologized to him later and told him it was just a joke. And I thought we had been friends now for several years, but then another incident happened more recently. I'll let Bailey tell that story.
Yeah, well, you left out the part that I forgot to feed you, and that was my first trip ever. So you had every right to let me have it. But yeah, recently in Houston, where the new Berkeley forward-facing sonar baits were launched, we had this whole schedule and everything set out. Everyone was on the same page. We told media multiple times when this bus and shuttle would leave for the lake one of the days, and it's like
it's an hour-long
minutes,
drive.
maybe. Yeah, it's an hour-long drive. It's like maybe 10 or 15 minutes after the bus had left, and I get a text as I'm driving to be there early at this lake for when Ken arrives. I get a text like 8:15. Hey, when does the bus leave? And I was like, son of, like, this guy misses the bus. Can move. And I was, after trying frantically to help him and figure out a solution, he goes, I'm just kidding. I'm on the bus. And that's where the I Hate Ken Duke Club started.
Good work, Ken.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Bailey, thank you for being gracious, even in the face of not being able to stand me at all. And we appreciate you, and continued success with the Serious Angler podcast and the Serious Angler Network.
Thanks, guys.
Bailey, anything you want to say as a?
Oh, that was kind of harsh.
I'm getting a new shoulder in 2 weeks, Ken.
I know. I'm hoping you're going to be in some kind of condition to do the show that night.
Oh my God, I'm gonna try if my wife will let me.
We're not done with this show yet. We still got.
This is true.
Well, there's a little bit of news I want to share. It has to do with one of the leagues we were talking about tonight. NPFL, the National Professional Fishing League, has really come on strong in the last couple of years, and I've gotten to know those folks a little bit. Brad Fuller, Paul Benson, some of the anglers out there. They've got a really impressive group of people who have big hearts and I think are doing really cool things. They've got a fabulous broadcast team with Luke Duncan and Fat Cat Newton, both friends of ours here on the show. We had Fat Cat on just a few weeks ago. And I have recently agreed to be the host of their roundtable discussions, which go on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday evenings before tournaments. So beginning this Sunday, you can catch me interviewing anglers on behalf of NPFL at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, in advance of their event on Logan Martin Lake. And actually, we're going to kick things off this Sunday. Yeah, this Sunday, the 28th, I believe. And we're going to kick things off. Ironically enough, poor David Fritz can't avoid me somehow because he was on our show not long ago, and I wind up being on a lot of shows that David's also a guest on. And I'm gonna pop into that video feed with him, and he's gonna wonder what in the world he's done to have to deal with me so much. But I'm looking forward to interviewing David before that tournament because he's now fishing NPFL. And of all things, NPFL season opens on Logan Martin in Alabama, where David Fritz won the 1993 Bassmaster Classic. So it's going to be a serious case of deja vu for David. And I'm looking forward to the experience because this is an amazing group of people over at NPFL.
Dude, I'm very, very, very happy for you and for them. They're getting a lot.
It's going to be fun. I'm a little bit nervous about the tech end of it because I'm going to be handling a lot of that interface. And frankly, I'm not that smart. And so it's going to be a real challenge. But the interaction with the anglers and the working with that team is going to be a lot of fun.
Do you have a costume in mind?
I do everything in this now. I sleep in this. I eat in this. I go out in this. This is pretty much all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No. I think I'm going to have a different outfit for this. Different background. This is a corner,
like a vest with a hat with the flies on it, and a fishing license hat on the back.
Floppy hat, or possibly a Homer Circle bucket hat.
Yes.
Hadn't thought of the hat aspect of it yet, but I think I'm going to move the camera and everything for that show and put it somewhere else in the house. This is kind of my library,
upskirt kind of angle.
No doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
Sorry, Ken.
No. But no, I wanted to share that because anybody out there who has an interest in the NPFL like I do, I hope you'll check it out because we're going to do everything we can to deliver the best pre-tournament show that we can for you. And I want everybody to tune in because getting to know the anglers is a big part of buying into the league and enjoying the fishing.
Indeed, it is. It really is, and that's awesome, dude. I'm really happy for you, buddy.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. That's a super good move on their part.
So I've got roundtable with NPFL, and Brian's got surgery on his shoulder. So we got that. We run the gamut.
Yeah,
of pleasure and pain on Bass After Dark.
Yeah, yes, indeed, we do. Top 10. We ready? I'm
gonna say my adieu because you got it from here, brother. You got it from here. Hey, snap your finger. Don't make me snap mine to disappear. You snap your fingers. And folks, we'll see you in a week.
All right, we got rid of him. That was the great Ken Duke. I don't know why he wants to disappear at the end of the show here. I disagree with that. Anyhow, Nathan, let's cue up the top 10. The top 10 signs that you were not going to win AOI?
The top 10 signs you're not going to win AOI. Number 10, your electronics mentor is Randy Blockett. Number 9, you use Miracle Grow as a live well treatment. Number 8, your boat was wrapped by saran. Number 7, Bass and MLF pay you not to put their logos on your tournament jersey. Number 6, you're pretty sure you mastered drop shotting after your 3rd Irish car bomb. Number 5, your bow graph is an Xbox. Number 4, your soft plastic sponsor is Fleshlight. Number 3, you have to inflate your bass boat at the ramp each morning. Number 2, you think kicker is a roster spot on your fantasy football team. And the number 1 sign you're not going to win AOI, you have 10,000 hours on your outboard but only 3 hours on your aerator.
Dale Gribble said these are not impressive. Dale, you're not impressive. I would also like to add that Ken had in addition to that list, 1A, signs that you will not win AOI. You use pronouns. Ken Duke. Anyhow, guys, thanks for watching tonight. That was a really good show. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. Thank you to Ronnie Moore, to Jody White, to Bailey. That was cool. Tournament season's about to happen next week. As Ken said, Sunday night, NPFL. I guess NPFL Facebook and YouTube channel. You can check that out. But tournament seasons are underway. Here we go. I mean, it's cold. It's January in New Jersey. Don't feel like fishing season, but it's happening somewhere. Guys, if you like the show, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Go on iTunes, leave a review, help us out. Put a lot of work into this thing. Say it every week. Shout out to Nathan for all his hard work behind the scenes, making up that list of hate and shots at everybody that I have to answer for. That's all Nathan. Jacob the intern. We need a name for Jacob, guys. Please hit me up on the social media. We need a name for this kid. We get his picture up there. We'll air him out. You guys got to give us a name. Yeah, we'll be back next week. And the topic is, what is the question for next week? That's all I got for that. Shout out to James Riley and Ron Stallings for our intro, James for our logo and that logo. And that's about it, man. See you guys next week. Bass After Dark.